Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the second quarter 2024 meeting of the Society for Creative Anachronism Board of Directors. We will begin in just a moment. Before we get into the meeting, some introductions, would be in order. And to kick that off, we'll start with myself. My name is Mark Falcon. I serve in seat G for the board, and currently I have the honor of being the chairperson of the board. Gabe?
Just had to unmute. Good morning, everybody. I'm Gabrielle Fisher. I'm from Eldermere. Mundanely, I'm just north of Toronto, Ontario in Canada. I'm the director in seat D, and I'm currently the vice chair of the board. I am the ombudsman for Avacol, Locock, Drachenwald, and board recruiting.
Megan?
Hello all, I'm Megan O'Shea. I'm the director for seat B, and I'm the ombudsman for Onstiora, Artemisia, Meridies, Arts and Science and Publications.
Thank you. Pug?
I'm Pug Boehner. I live in Austin, Texas. I'm ombudsman for East, Ethelmark, Trimaris, and Glen Aubin, as well as the Heralds and DEIB.
Thank you very much, sir. Jennifer?
Hi, I'm Jennifer Krochmal. Mundanely in the organization, I am Duchess Kalisa Alexandrovna. I reside in Atlantia, which mundanely is the DC area, and I am in seat C currently, which is North Shield, the Outlands, Palantir, and Webminster, and IT. It's good to see everybody today.
Thank you. Shep?
Thanks, Mark. I am KT Shepard. As you might have noticed, you'll hear some people today call me Shep. I am from Huntsville, Alabama, in the Kingdom of Meridies. I am the ombudsman, director for seat F. I'm the ombudsman for West, Caid, Ontier, and the Marshlet.
Krista?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Krista Capps. I'm known in the society as Bracticulari. I am the director for seat A, which makes me ombudsman for Atlantia, Eldermere, Aidenvelt, and Middle. And mundanely, I live in Central California. Thank you, everyone.
And last of the directors or directors-elect, and certainly not least, Jonathan?
Hello, I'm Jonathan Foster. I am the director-elect for seat C. I currently reside in the Northeast Wisconsin area.
Thank you, sir. And then moving through the officers, Louise, since I'm going top to bottom.
It's always a surprise because our lists are in a different order. Hello, I am Louise Ducre. I'm your Vice President for Corporate Operations out here in sunny and rainy California, in charge of your 3-person corporate office and membership and every non-game side thing.
Thank you. Bridget?
Good morning, everyone. Bridget Costello, communications, including social media. I reside in the Kingdom of Locock. Good morning to you all.
Thank you. Charles?
Hello, everyone. My name is Charles Burke, and I am the corporate DEIB officer, and I reside in the Kingdom of Ontier in the state of Washington.
Thank you, sir. Carolyn?
Good morning, everybody. I am Carolyn Richardson. I am the corporate treasurer in charge of the very non-game money. And I currently live in the Kingdom of Caid in Southern California.
Thank you. Eben?
Good morning. I'm Eben Kurtzman. I'm the in-house counsel for the SCA, and I live in Caid.
Thank you. John?
Hi, I'm John Fulton. I am at this point in time the current president of the SCA Inc. And I apologize, my voice is kind of scratchy with allergies. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Laura?
Hi, I'm Laura Pate. I'm from the Kingdom of Meridies, and I am a special projects for the president.
Thank you. Leslie?
Hi, I'm Leslie Luther Fulton. I apologize, my camera has done a bunk. In the SCA, I'm Jane Fallett of Englewood, and I live in Glen Alvin, and I am the executive assistant to the board.
Thank you. Liz?
Hello, I'm Liz Schreier. I am the Society Seneschal, and in the SCA, I'm known as Elisette Inindirmata, and I live in the Kingdom of Calontir, which in the modern world is St. Louis, Missouri. Thank you.
Thank you. Melissa?
Hi, I'm Melissa Midzer. I'm your Society Marshal. Mundanely, I live in the Outlands near Denver, Colorado.
Excellent. Thank you. Michelle? Michelle Hayes?
Hi, everybody. I'm Michelle Hayes. In the SCA is Jean-Marie Leverrier. I am your Society Chatelaine, and I live in the Kingdom of Onsteora, which is mundane Fort Worth, Texas. Howdy.
Thank you. Michelle Santee?
Hi, I'm Michelle Santee. In the Society, I'm Amethyst de la Fontaine. I live in North Shield, I'm in northern Wisconsin, and I'm youth officer for the society at this time.
Thank you. Sarah?
Hello, I'm Sarah Noble McGee. In the Society, I'm known as Hildegard Bergerine. I'm your Society Minister of Arts and Sciences, and I live in Atlantia, mundanely an hour south of Charlotte, North Carolina. Thank you.
Thank you. Travis?
Hello, my name is Travis Schenk. I am the Society Archivist. I live in the Kingdom of Artemisia, which is Utah, Idaho, Montana, a little bit of Wyoming, but I live in the Utah part, and I'm coming to you from the archive. It's nice to see you all today.
Thank you, sir. And rounding out our officer corps, and final by alphabetical order, Uni.
Hi, I'm Unni Leino, the Society Herald. I live in the Kingdom of Drachenwald, in the modern world, Finland. So, good evening, everyone.
And thank you. I believe that is all of the introductions. Did I miss anyone?
I think you have one more, Mark.
Who did I miss?
Bao.
We do have with us a mystery person. Bao, if you would introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Bao Pham, and I'm from the Kingdom of Onsteora, the Barony of the Steppes, which is Dallas. And I am the president-elect of the SCA.
And we'll take this opportunity to welcome Bao to the corporate family, if you will, and thank him very much for agreeing to take that position. Having gotten through the introductions, I will turn to the office, to the directors to direct your attention to the agenda, and I will open the floor for motions to open the meeting.
Mark, I got my hand up. You're muted. I'm going to assume I can go ahead.
You are correct.
Mr. Chairman, I move we open the April 14th, 2024 meeting of the Board of Directors for the Society for Creative Anachronism.
There is a motion from Director Fisher. Is there a second? I see a second from Director Capps. Is there any discussion on the motion? There being none, we will move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Okay, that is certainly a plurality. Any opposed? There being none, with no abstentions, that motion carries and the meeting is open. The first item is on the agenda is item 1, the establishment of agenda, for which the floor is open. Director Fisher.
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept the agenda as presented and take agenda items out of order as may be necessary.
There is a motion from Director Fisher, a second from Director Shepherd. Is there a discussion on this motion?
Mark, would you remind everybody to turn off their camera, please, if they're not talking?
Will do.
Thank you so much.
To our attendees who are not directors, if you would turn off your camera if you're not speaking, that would be helpful. Thank you. There is a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion on this motion? Being none, we will move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. And that is a plurality. Any opposed? There being none, no abstentions, that motion also carries. Moving to item 2, the approval of minutes. Leslie?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to present the January 28th, 2024 quarterly meeting minutes, the February 26th, 2024 conference call minutes, the March 25th, 2024 conference call minutes, and the April 8th, 2024 special meeting minutes for your approval.
Those are have been reviewed prior to the meeting, and by consensus, by consensus and without objection, so ordered. That would bring us to item 3, recurring business. Item A, status changes. Liz?
Had a little trouble with my unmute button. It didn't want to cooperate. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Unfortunately, this quarter I have only dissolutions to report. The theme seems to be subsidiaries of baronies that can't seem to maintain a separate independent group and want to fold back into their baronies. First of all, I have in on tier. This one's a shire, the Shire of Midhaven, which is Skagit and San Juan counties of Washington State. The Kingdom Seneschal requests that the shire be dissolved, as for a few years now, nobody has expressed any interest in maintaining an active group. They're going to reassign the zip codes to the nearby barony of Aquaterra. So I ask that the board dissolve that group.
The request has come from the Society Seneschal. Leslie, I believe that is done regretfully by consensus. Am I correct in that? No, that was
No, sir, that dissolutions must be voted on.
Hate doing that, but the floor is open. Director Fisher?
Mr. Chairman, I move the Shire of Midhaven in the Kingdom of Ontario be dissolved as requested by the Society Seneschal. You're muted.
Second from Director Bainter. Is there a discussion on this motion? There being none, we will move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Any opposed? And with no abstention, that motion carries. regretfully. Liz?
Okay, the next one is a canton in Caid, the canton of Mons Draconis, which is the Greater Riverside, California area. According to the Kingdom Seneschal, the canton has been dormant for a while as an active separate entity. The new Baron and Baroness of its parent barony of Drybergen have attempted to revitalize the subgroups, but this particular canton did not have any interest in continuing. So the kingdom requests its dissolution as a canton. Of course, it will remain part of the barony.
Director Shepherd?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept regretfully the dissolution of the canton of Mons Draconis in the Kingdom of Caid.
Motion from Director Shepherd. Is there a second? Second from Director O'Shea. Discussion on the motion is presented. There being none, we will move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Any opposed? And without abstention, that motion also carries. Again, regretfully. Liz?
Okay, also from Caid, we have the stronghold of Steinsee, which is the 29 Palms Marine Base and surrounding areas. It's also a subsidiary of the Barony of Drybergen, and this stronghold also displayed no interest in coming out of dormancy after several years. And as strongholds are supposed to be primarily based at military institutions, and the more detailed than what I just said territorial description sounds like that might not really be the case anymore anyway. It seems like it should be reabsorbed back into its parent barony, which is what the kingdom is requesting.
Director Shepherd?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I move that we regretfully accept the dissolution of the stronghold of Stenice in the Kingdom of Caid.
As a motion from Director Shepherd, is there a second? Second from Director Capps. Discussion on this motion. There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Opposed? And with no abstention, this motion also carries. Regretful. Liz?
Okay, last one. This one is in Meridies, the canton of Hockwald, which is Corryton, Tennessee. This is a canton of the barony of Thor's Mountain. And I got a very detailed report from the Kingdom Seneschal, which indicated that the canton was never able to really get going as its own entity. Currently, it only has 5 paid members, 4 of whom appear to be from the same family. And both the canton seneschal and the baronial seneschal requested the dissolution of the kingdom, so it was passed on up to me. I'm sorry, not of the kingdom, of the canton. Whoops.
Yes, please.
No, we're not
let's
dissolving
do that.
We're not dissolving the whole kingdom of Meridies. Just this canton.
Director Capps?
Mr. Chair, I move that the canton of Hockwald in the Kingdom of Meridies be dissolved as requested by the Society Seneschal.
There is a motion from Director Capps and a second from Director Shepherd. Is there discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Opposed? And without abstention, that motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all of them.
Excellent. Item C is the quarterly meeting schedule. Louise?
And we're back. All right, so we have our quarterly meeting schedule set, as well as our conference calls for the next quarter. So in chronological order, our next meeting after this one is listed as our conference call on May 30th. We then have a conference call on June 24th. Our next quarterly meeting is on July 21st. There will obviously be some conference calls after that, and our last quarterly meeting of the year is scheduled for October 20th.
Understood, and thank you. By consensus and without objection, the board accepts and takes note of the quarterly and conference call meeting schedule, excuse me.
Oh, and with all corporate officers needed invited. It's
Excellent, thank you.
part of that language.
That brings us to item D, bank account authorizations, also Louise.
Yes, all bank authorizations that have been able to be processed have been as of last week. I will say more about this in my report, but some of them have been put on hold due to banking issues out of our control. They start with Wells and they end with Fargo.
Thank you very much. By consensus and without objection, the board takes note. This brings us to item E, warrants. Leslie?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any open warrants. I have one warrant for Michael Arceo, Antonio D. Sorza as the communication deputy's officer for video. It has been approved, and I will be getting that out to Bridget tomorrow.
Excellent. That will bring us to item F, ongoing projects. Under that line item, the first one is board recruiting. Gabe?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this point in time, we have 44 nominees on the list representing 14 kingdoms. I know we would all love to have a greater diversity of our membership shown there. Basically, the more numbers, the better. We're always looking for a diverse skill set. So if you know somebody who you feel could serve in this capacity, we strongly encourage the membership to nominate somebody or nominate yourself. Thank you.
Thank you very much. One more item, and then we'll pause for an outstanding item. This is board representation. Leslie?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We'd like to thank the Kingdom of Glen Aubin for their hospitality at Gulf Wars. They sponsored a meet and greet. Inquiries have been sent to the autocrats of Lily's War in Calontir, which is from June 7th to 16. I'm still waiting to hear back from them, but hopefully there will be a meet and greet panel discussion at that event. And if anybody is interested in sponsoring such an event or such a panel discussion at their event, if they could please get in touch with me, we'll see about getting them set up. Thank you.
Excellent. Before we proceed into our next item, old business, I would like to take a moment and call out and highlight our American Sign Language interpreters and thank them once again for helping us be able to reach more of our membership and to allow us to be able to, yes, absolutely, and allow us to be able to diversify the reach that the SCA has through our membership. And on a personal note, Jackie, thank you very much. This brings us to item 4, old business. And the first under that is item A, variances granted by the Society Seneschal. Liz?
Mr. Chairman, I did not grant any variances since the last conference call meeting, so there is nothing under that for a change.
Well, in fairness, I did know that going in, but I wanted to call it out anyway, because I think this might be the first time in recent memory where you didn't have any, which I think is good. If a bit geeky on my part. Item B, sanctions policies and procedures manual revision. Liz?
Yes, I have put before the board a revision of the sanctions policies and procedures manual, which was last revised, if I remember right, around the end of 2020. It's not huge revisions. I'm just going to mention for people in the audience, the board has had a chance to review all of this extensively. I am going to just hit the very highlights. There are few grammatical changes, of course, there always are. I added a definition of sanction, which turns out not to really be defined anywhere, which reads, a sanction is defined as an action taken by royalty, a duly empowered officer of the SCA, or the board of directors, which affects the sanctioned person's participation in activities and events of the SCA or some aspect of that participation. Clarifies that things like letters from royalty or officers that say, hey, I don't like, you're doing something that you probably shouldn't be, and you might want to consider your behavior, are not considered sanctions. Added some things about exactly what the powers of principality royalty are as opposed to kingdom royalty. Because there are certain things that they can do with permission of their crown, but certain things that they cannot do. Added some clarifications on a banishment from the royal presence. The previous document said put a limit of 50 feet, staying 50 feet away from the royalty. A presence banishment is simply avoiding the royalty. It doesn't prevent people from attending events. Well, sometimes that 50 feet isn't possible at an indoor site. So I added clarifying language that says basically you make every effort to avoid the royalty and you don't interact with them. Changed exiles to be automatically reviewed by the Society Seneschal, not necessarily the board. Of course, anyone would have the right to appeal to the board. Also one thing, formerly the manual has always said that notifications were to be sent by certified mail. Well, first of all, that's kind of meaningless in Canada and outside the US. That exact designation doesn't exist. And also certified has caused problems because it has to be signed for by a human and people don't go pick it up at the post office, etc. So the practice for a while has been to use priority mail or international priority, that sort of thing. So I just changed to say that it must be a trackable method that you can get proof of delivery. Added some statements clarifying how one, what one must include if one appeals a sanction, and changed the confidentiality statement somewhat in accordance with what our legal counsel suggested. That's just a quick summary of the major changes. I'm asking that the board approve this, at which point I will send it to our publications director to work her magic on it because my Word hates me and the formatting at the moment is very questionable. So I would send it to her and then it would be put on the website if the board chooses to approve it.
Noted, and thank you for that. There is a request from the Society of Seneschal to approve the sanctions manual as presented. Their floor is open. Director Capps.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we do accept the revised sanction manual as presented by the Society Seneschal.
There is a motion from Director Capps. Is there a second? Second from Director Bainter. Sorry, Shep. Is there discussion on this motion?
Other than
And
just a general thank you for all the hard
very
work
much so.
that has been going on in this arena. Thank you. Thank you.
And for the benefit of the audience, I will reiterate what has previously been stated in that we have extensively reviewed this document in conjunction with the Society of Seneschal and have discussed the changes at length. So we are not merely rubber stamping what has already been done. Is there any further discussion on this motion?
Oh, never mind. Jackie's joined. Sorry.
Excellent. There being no further discussion on this motion, we will move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Those opposed? Thank you. And with no abstentions, all in favor, that motion carries.
Thank you.
Mark, you're muted.
This brings us to item C, the recruiting and retention restructuring proposal. Charles?
Actually, item C, the handbook, I think, is first.
Okay, that is listed as recruitment and retention restructuring proposal in the agenda.
Sorry.
Okay. Greetings, Mr. Chair, directors, Mr. President, officers of the Society, and members of the Society for Creative Anachronism. 3 months ago, a request for commentary was put out to the members regarding the creation of 2 new grader officers. These officers are the Society Chatelaine and the Society DEIB officer. An analysis of public commentary shows that 99.6% of the people that wrote were in support of this initiative. I believe this speaks overwhelmingly to the support for the structural administrative change to the Society for Creative Anachronism. As a reminder for those who may be unfamiliar with this particular initiative or need a refresher, this update to Corpora represents one of the single largest restructurings of the SCA in its history. The purpose of this restructuring is to put more focus on recruiting and retention. As such, some significant infrastructure changes are being made to the structure of the way the Society operates. First, it is our recommendation that the Society Chatelaine be elevated to a greater officer of the Society. Currently, the Society Chatelaine is a deputy of the Society Seneschal. Kingdom Chatelaines either report to the crowns of their respective kingdoms or are deputies of the Seneschal, and so on with local and regional, though it does vary from kingdom to kingdom. This prevents the SCA from having a consistent and effective approach to recruiting and retention. The elevation of this office to a greater office of the Society will align all Chatelaines in one organization under the office of the Society Chatelaine. This will allow the Society Chatelaine to set recruiting and retention strategies that can be implemented society-wide and leverage a best practice sharing model across the Society. Secondly, it is our recommendation to the board to create the Society Office of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging as a greater officer of the Society. Currently, there is not a Society DEIB officer. There is a corporate DEIB officer, me. And disparate kingdom officers that do not align to this office. Society offices and corporate officers have very different job responsibilities. There is not an organized approach to DEI in the SCA due to this. In many cases, we're getting it really right. In some cases, we're not, and we need to fix that. By creating the Society DEIB office as a greater office, all Society officers that exist within the Society can organize under that office, much like I detailed for the Society Chatelaines office. This will allow strategies to be rolled out consistently and effectively across the Society. By making these 2 changes to Corpora and creating 2 greater Society offices, it will align kingdom and local levels. This is a great move from a recruiting and a retention standpoint, as it allows the SCA to begin implementing consistent strategies that are based on best practices today. Finally, the current corporate DEIB office. As this is a corporate office and may be created or dissolved at the will of the board, it requires no change to Corpora. Currently, this office has many projects on its plate. These are long-term projects like implementing a learning management system or developing mandatory training for multiple levels of management across the Society, or broad-scale accessibility implementations. This office should remain in ownership of these long-term big initiatives that are more administrative than game-facing. Once these projects are delivered, the office can move to supporting other officers with programmatic implementations and to improve inclusion. This will take the burden of working on these types of things off of the plates of society officers who have game-facing responsibilities. It is hereby our recommendation that we rename the corporate DEI office to the Office of Inclusive Programs. As per our discussion, I will remain in this office, supporting the board and officers. We will be opening the role for the Society DEIB officer, publishing the role per the prescribed channels for a greater officer of the society. I thank you for your time, directors, and allowing me that rather long recap for everyone who is watching and attending.
Thank you very much, sir. And based on your request, I will open the floor to the directors for discussion. Director Bainter.
First, as it doesn't require a change to governing documents, I recommend we direct Mr. Burke to change his office title. Do we have consensus on that?
John?
Yeah, I think the board should just do a motion and make the change.
Okay.
We with the, you know, communication to DEI and marketing. Yeah, thank you.
For the benefit of whichever director ultimately is minded to make the change, Charles, could you restate the exact name of the office that you're requesting?
I've got it.
You have it, Bug?
I am requesting that the name change for the corporate DEIB office change to the Office of Inclusive Programs.
Excellent, thank you. Director Bainter.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move that we rename the corporate DEIB office to the Office of Inclusive Programs, effective immediately.
There's a motion from Director Bainter. Is there a second? Second from Director Krochmal, who was a little quicker than Director Kefs. Is there discussion on this motion? In that case, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? And without with no noes, no abstentions, that motion carries.
Thank you, Charles.
Very much, very much.
My question, directors, just so that I'm clear, that motion covered everything that we just discussed, not just the renaming of the office. Thank you.
No.
I was unclear, and I am so grateful for all of your support for the work of diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging in the SCA. I personally would like to congratulate Jean Marie, our current Society Chatelaine, on her office change and becoming a new Greater Society officer. She's already started surrounding herself with a great team, and I can't wait to see where she goes.
For clarity, Charles, that motion was just to change the name of your office.
That's what I was just asking.
Yeah, we have to go through those one at a time.
Individually.
We'll get
Bug?
there.
Okay, well, imagine
Yes,
I
Mr.
said
Chairman.
that at the end after we do all this.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
actually, a point of clarification before I do this to John or Leslie. Do I need to restate the entirety of the governing document change, or can I state it as presented to the populace?
I'm gonna wait till the EA before I dive into this, if that's okay.
Okay, as this has gone out before, what we can do is you can do as presented, and then we can put an addendum on the end of the minutes to explain the change, if that is acceptable.
That is perfectly acceptable. I just needed to know if I needed to read the whole thing out or not.
No, I don't think that's necessary.
No, but but there are different thresholds for this, for passage, for, adding stuff to Kapora or, other areas. So, yeah, it's got to be done just like the EA said. Thank you.
Understood. Director Bainter, you are still recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the structural changes to Kapora for society officers as presented. You're muted, Mark.
Pardon the mute. There is a motion from Director Bainter and a giant second from Director Krochmal. Is there a discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. And I will exercise my option to vote and do so in the affirmative. Are there any opposed? And with no abstentions, that motion also carries.
All right, may I go now? I want to thank a lot of folks who got us to this point. And obviously Jean-Marie, I'm very excited to see where the Chatelain's office goes from here. I'd also like to thank my predecessor, Zahara, who laid a lot of the foundations that we built on to get to this point. And I'd like to thank Kolfina Egglesdottir, who is my deputy. She is a technical writer and did most of the writing and rewriting of the new Society and Kingdom DEIB Officer Handbook that we are getting ready to roll out as well. I would like to thank all the Kingdom DEIB officers and all of my deputies who provided feedback on the handbook, and the many and several directors who served as advisors and collaborators to get us to this point. I'm very grateful for your time, for your energy, and for your advice. Thank you so much for this change, and I will finally relinquish my time.
Thank you very much, sir. And speaking for myself, and I suspect for more than one of the directors, we would also like to extend our thanks for all the hard work that you and all of the people working with you have put in to get us to where we are, and to continue the work as you go forward.
Thank you.
Director Bainter?
Mr. Chairman, just as a clarification, since the populace at large has not been involved, this is the first of many steps that's being taken. We still have to revisit other ports of Corpora in order to propagate this down to the kingdoms and other areas such as that.
May I say something?
Please.
Any changes to Kapora, although they technically come into effect immediately, there is a grace period for implementation. Usually that is 60 days.
Noted. Let's make sure I can check that. Okay. This, I believe, will bring us to item 4D, the omnibus peerage proposal. Shep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Unfortunately, I missed the meeting yesterday where we talked about most of this. I understand it was very in depth, and we have a possible adjusted proposal. I would like to take a second to thank the members of our membership who took the time to write in and give us commentary. Which ended at the end of March. They did a wonderful job of giving us a lot of commentary and a lot of ideas. If I'm not speaking out of place, in in the vein of transparency, you gave us a whole lot of commentary, and it was everywhere. Everybody had opinions, and lots of those opinions were the same, and a lot of those opinions were different. The idea that we have to go forward is not mine, so I think we should probably turn that over to the person who it is. And I will have things to say later.
Understood. The floor is open. Director Quackmall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We spent quite a bit of time over the last several months, years, talking about this as an option. Our talk yesterday, I think, went a little better than it has, in the past. I think we all a number of us had some thoughts to change things a bit, and this is the direction that I had also thought to go in. Instead of an omnibus peerage, the idea at this point is that has been floated, is to create a peerage that is specifically for projectiles or missiles, pre-17th century ranged weapons. And the reason behind that is that it would no longer be an omnibus peerage, a peerage where it is kind of a fill-in for those that don't fit under the other peerages. The idea is that all of the people in this peerage would have something in common. They all utilize the ranged weapons across all of the different disciplines. So this could potentially encapsulate all of the disciplines that went out during commentary, but they would have that common thread. It is my hope that the populace and membership would be happy with this should it go through. But that is, I think, the idea that is being floated right now. If there's anybody else who can provide more information, I would welcome that at this time.
Director Fisher.
I just wanted to add a little bit to the commentary that, as Jennifer said, we've been talking about this for quite some time. And we really did get a diversity of input from across the known world, and like hundreds of emails. And we have analyzed that, broken it down. We've had several different sets of interpretations of it, and we had quite the range of opinions. I just wanted to thank the membership and acknowledge that again, because we're trying to find a way forward in this, and it's a very complicated and not a simple issue, and that's I yield.
Director Shepherd.
Yeah. My issue with what we're proposing is it doesn't solve the issue that was put before us, which is this would be a situation that handled all further peerage needs. By reducing it to ranged, there's a portion of the siege that isn't covered in battering rams. There's a portion of equestrian that isn't covered. It doesn't fix the problem that we have, in my opinion. And it puts us in a situation where another board down the road, or even this one in a couple of months, is having to deal with the same issue again. I personally am 100% on board that everyone in these activities deserves a path forward to peerage. Unfortunately, I don't believe this gives that to them, unless we are willing to state state for the kingdoms into the orders that then the rest of equestrian that doesn't include ranged combat is to be covered by the laurel or the chivalry or whoever. When we did the order of defense, we left out these positions. And I'm not saying put them in the order of defense. Some of the commentary we got was from people saying it should just be archery, to roll everything into the order of the chivalry, to put these folks these participants into the order of defense, to equestrian saying we shouldn't be in here, to it was just all over the place. And I don't think this just ended 2 weeks ago. I don't think we've had enough time to look at it and truly go over it. Though Krista and Megan did a wonderful job combining all of that information into a spreadsheet for us and giving us some percentages. I think we are getting ahead of doing something now instead of doing something right. So we make sure we get this right. I want this to get done, but I just want to get done without rushing it. And that's what I have to say on that for right now. Thank you.
Director Kokomo?
Yeah, I did neglect to add a few more things. One of the things that I personally like about this is it takes out the language that we had distributed for commentary regarding limiting the order to those 5 disciplines. So theoretically, what this does is it turns it over to the kingdom to make those kinds of decisions about who they think is worthy to be inducted and elevated into this peerage. The other thing is that it could potentially include future activities. There are things that could fit in within that definition that would not need to, the language would not need to be updated, since we are taking out the including but limited to the discipline part. And equestrian could also have a path through this peerage, because my understanding is that they are doing mounted archery. So I think that it is not perfect. There is no perfect solution. There are issues with every potential option that we discuss, and we have spent a lot of time discussing this. I personally feel that this is kind of the option that will give us the best result for the most people. Archery and missiles, that is something that newcomers and people who have not been in the society long, it gives them the opportunity to participate pretty quickly. I think that this could be the best solution that we have come across. So I will yield with that.
Director O'Shea?
I first want to just again reiterate my gratitude for all of the commentary that we did receive. And I'd also like to just put out there, one of the themes that came through fairly clearly was that even for people who had commentary that they didn't love certain things, they still wanted something, right? They still wanted there to be a path. And while I think that, this isn't necessarily the most perfect path forward, I think it is the best path forward we have at present. And because we have been working on this for so long, prior to even, my joining, I think that now is the time. With that, I yield.
Shep?
I'm just going to point out that this what we're talking about right now specifically covers ranged. There's a lot of activity. Most of the activities in equestrian are not covered under range. Mounted archery is only a small portion of equestrian, for example, and that's just for example. Putting activities into this in the future may be a way, but when you talk about that the Crowns have had would have the ability to put people wherever they wanted. The Crowns have had the ability to put people wherever they wanted from the beginning. They could have placed any of these people in any order they deemed necessary, and they didn't, which is why we're here. So if we're not giving them direction on this, then we're not solving this issue. And my concern is this: this proposal that covers a lot of the activities that we're talking about, but the activities that we're talking about right now and it only covers part of them, which means that when this is done, if we go forward with this, and I'm not saying that we won't, and if I'm the one person who says no, I'm fine with that. But if we do it like this, I am fully convinced that without talking to the populace through a survey or whatever, then I'm fully convinced that we either us or another board in a few years will be facing this exact same issue again with another portion that doesn't fit because it's specifically to ranged. I yield.
I will recognize myself to speak. First, I'd like to thank the inspired proposal from Jennifer, which I think encapsulates a lot of the board's thinking, and based on the commentary, a lot of the populace's thinking with respect to the peerage or the prospective peerage. Let me say that. Like Shep, I recognize that the commentary in some areas of the proposal was very clear and fairly unequivocal. In other areas, it was very mixed. Even within the communities, there were some that were for it, some that were against it, some in favor of parts and not others, etc. I find that generally my opinions about the proposal or the amended proposal, let me say that Director Krochmal has put forth, parts of it I think I can get behind and enthusiastically. Other parts I'm still wrestling with, if I'm honest, for many of the reasons that Director Shepherd has already laid out, as well as some other details and whatnot. This is has been and clearly continues to be a difficult decision for us to make, not because we don't want to make the peerage, but the question is ultimately trying to divine what truly is the will of the populace and what is in the best interest of the organization is not nearly as clear as one would hope it would be. As I said, there's certain elements of the proposal I think are fairly clear and and unequivocal. Other parts I think are much more unclear or murky, if you will, as to where the population, the membership at large is at. It's not going to hurt my feelings if we ultimately move ahead with the proposal today. I do think we potentially could benefit from a short amount of more time to further deliberate and make sure that we're drawing our lines, if you will, where they need to be. But as I said, I certainly I'm not going to be upset if we implement today, and I think I would be very happy for the members of the populace who will benefit greatly from the proposal as put forth. But I do want to make sure to call out to the membership how difficult the decision making has been on this for all the reasons that have been laid out. Pug?
A procedural question, since if I'm reading the board of directors correctly, I think we are in general agreement that we want to create a new order. Since we have a procedural issue with regards to Laurel, Sovereign of Arms, going forth and creating name and regalia, can we do the refinement of the verbiage in parallel to that activity, or do we need this firm before we give guidance?
John?
So, as the Society Herald said, as Laurel said, it would take a minimum of 4 months. And Umi, if I am not quoting you correctly, please feel free to jump in. It would take a minimum of 4 months to get the actual arms and name done properly. So whenever this is decided, it's you have a certain amount of time that kingdoms have to implement anything if it's a corpora change. So you're talking a minimum of 4 months for whatever is done, whenever it is done, to get that handled. You've also, like with the order of defense, the board will need to give, because it is an order and the operational things for corpora, in how you give counsel to the crown, you've got to help the kingdoms. How many do you make first without having a consulting order? That board can do that. There's a lot of questions. Whenever the board decides this, however the board decides this, there is a minimum right now that things that have to be done before it gets fully put into implementation. That's just the way it is. Names, all of that. It's got to be done. And I think it was brought up yesterday when the order of defense was created, the heraldic and name material had been done, I believe, during the second committee, not the first committee. The second committee focused on that before it was even brought to the board for a full vote. Does that answer your question, Chairman?
I'll
I'm
defer to
not
Pug
sure
on that.
it answered mine.
Okay.
Can we do them in parallel, working on the verbiage? And since there are some concerns with regards to what's being left out,
unless
while we're working on the heraldic portion.
I'll leave that up for Liz or for the board or as an interpretation of corpora. I think whatever you do, I think ideally it would be better to, in theory, yes, you can implement it. You can create it now and then set an implementation date farther down, adjust it as you need. But to make everything as proper as possible and give everybody as much answers as possible, you probably want the heraldic things done, but you can pass it now with an implementation down if it is all completed by a set date. And in between now and then, if something happens, the board does have the ability to adjust that if needed. So that's kind of a weaselly answer for you, Pug. I know. Thank you.
Recognize Uni, and I believe Jennifer had her hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to clarify that the bare minimum of about 4 months is after we have a proposal for the name and badge for the order to take care of the actual registration process. So I would hope that you would in some way make it possible to start the process of actually getting a name proposal and badge proposal for the order at this meeting. But of course, it is your decision.
Thank you for that, Director Krochmal.
I think the concern that I have in terms of putting off, like approving it in a general way and then starting the registration process, is that the name, we would want the name to reflect the members in this peerage, what this peerage is going to be. And if that changes, that may change the direction of the name and device. So that is the one concern I have about doing things sort of simultaneously. If things change, that could potentially change the direction that the name and device go. And I will yield to that.
Noted. Leslie, at one point you had your hand up. Would you, do you care to be recognized?
I did not realize I had my hand up. I'm sorry. No.
No worries. Thank you. To kind of sum up, without putting words in anyone's mouth, I believe it would be fair to say that all of the directors are in favor of creating a peerage, and our discussion currently is around the scope of that peerage, what would be included and what not, and not yet, I should say, with also some further clarification regarding the mechanisms to do so and the timeline based on the need to pass badge and name, and to have those things teed up so that the corpora changes could be made. Please, if anyone disagrees with that characterization, please correct me if I'm wrong. That naturally would lead me to the next question being, where do we go from here? Director Shepherd has advised that we have had a comparatively short amount of time to review the feedback from the populace and deliberate on what direction we should take things. I think there are other directors who are more minded to take action in a more immediate sense. Where do we want to go? Director Prockmall?
So in the interest of transparency, I will be really forthcoming at this point. I was totally opposed to the omnibus peerage for a number of reasons, and I don't think we need to go into all of the reasons. But I do recognize that this is something that the populace wants, and having read through all of the commentary, while I don't think that there was agreement on a whole lot from the people within those communities, what I got from the messages is that people want something. A lot of people did not like the idea of it being an omnibus, like everything else that didn't fit. There was a lot of support for an archery peerage. And there was, I think, a general desire to try to include as much as possible to limit the need to do this again later. I don't think there is a perfect solution. I think this may be as close as we can get to make as many people happy and to recognize as many disciplines as possible while still providing a cohesive order with a singular focus across different disciplines. So there are different methods, but it's a singular focus. In my mind, it is the best of the options that we have so far. And if I am willing to make a motion today and see where it goes, I do want to be clear with people. Like, we spend a lot of time talking, sometimes arguing about these things. We are people who feel we are in these positions because we are incredibly passionate about this society, about the different disciplines in the society. We disagree, we have complex discussions. At the end of the day, we vote, and however that vote falls, we all move on. And that's kind of what I'm prepared to do today. Because I think, in my mind, I think that we need some resolution, whether that's to know that this is not going to happen and to move forward to try to figure something else out, or to know that this could go forward and to figure out how to get there. So I am prepared to make a motion. I'm happy to wait to allow other people to discuss more, but that is where I stand today. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you. Other commentary, other discussion? Director Prockmall, as a point of clarification, in order for us to fully approve the new order, we don't necessarily need to, well, I guess that take that back. We would need a name, because it would have to go in corpora. We would need a name and, the regalia, to go into the corpora language. If we were to, if, you know, based on that necessity, the reality of that, if you were to make such a motion, what would the shape of that look like? So I'm on the same page.
Yeah, so I think basically, I mean, I can proffer a motion if we would all like to hear it. Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve the revised proposed changes to corpora that will create a new peerage and then order name to be determined, and direct the Laurel Sovereign of Arms to submit such name and heraldry to the heraldic comment process with the intention of opening the order at a later date. And, you know, within however many months it would take for them to create that name and device.
Okay, thank you. John?
Jennifer, if you're going to go that route, I would suggest on the date, instead of setting a date, just make it very simple by saying implementation date is entirely dependent upon heraldric issues being completed, rather than set something, because who knows what will happen with the Herald's office. I think you can put that language in.
As a point of clarification, the way that I am, just so I'm on the same page, and not to push back per se, but so I make sure I understand. As I understand the motion that you have prospectively proffered, if I may use that term, this would essentially be a statement of intent, because in order to actually make the corpora change, we would have to have the name and the regalia, considering that has to go into corpora, and that would have to be voted on once those things were done. Just so I'm on the same page.
I believe so, but I think what this would do is it would create a message to the populace that we are moving forward with this, and it would take the question out of it. People could know where we're going, what we're doing, and then it is, you know, a matter of just working with the College of Heralds to come up with the appropriate name and device. But, you know, kingdoms could theoretically start planning. We could, you know, and figuring out how they want to handle things.
Assuming that it was passed, yeah.
Right. So they could it just gives them more time to sort of jump on things and figure out individually. Each kingdom is going to be different. Kingdom cultures are different. And this, I think, gives each kingdom the flexibility to do things within their own kingdom culture. And so that's kind of the direction that I would be heading. It would just sort of take some of the question mark, is this going to happen or is this not going to happen soon?
Understood. Director Fisher?
Just for some clarification, I don't think, are we placing the expectation to come up with a name and heraldry on the College of Heralds, or wouldn't we want to, we'd somehow need to get that, I think, from the community and provide that information to the College of Heralds? Just by way of process. So, because I think there's a step in there somewhere where we, if we do
Perhaps
that.
prospectively, if such a motion were to be offered, it would be to direct the Society Herald to coordinate the creation and passage of name and regalia. In other words, not that the Society Herald would have to come up with it, but to help.
I'm just concerned about the mechanics of that, and I don't have an answer. So, but thank you for the clarification. I yield.
Yeah, I apologize if I was unclear. I'm not suggesting that they create a name. We would need to, that is a process that we would need to figure out in terms of whether there's a committee or if somebody, we designate specific people to work with the Herald to come up with something that would be submitted.
John and then Leslie.
Thank you, Mark. So just again, everybody understands that there will have to be this. What Gabe's concern is there will have to be communication between the Herald's office, whatever consulting they get from whatever areas, but the final approval on which name to go with will fall as usual on the board. Thank you.
Leslie?
If I remember correctly from the process during the development of the Order of Defense, Laurel handled polling members for suggestions. It was placed in their hands to consult with the membership, if I remember correctly.
Understood, and thank you for the clarification. Are there, Director Fisher?
Just in response to Leslie, I thought earlier Shep had said, or maybe it was Shep, I can't remember, that there had been a prior committee, the second committee as part of the Master Defense creation,
That
that
was
they had
John.
presented a name.
That was
Or that was
John.
John. Sorry,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
That wanted-
that was a year-long process after the first committee finished the rule set. Then the next one did as quickly as possible. It was a very short committee that ended up in finalized and just rubber stamped down along with the name. And then they went with the Herald's office with the understanding. Again, you know, a name and device can be registered oddly enough by any individual. And then after that's done, you can give ownership of that to whatever form or fashion you want. I know because I've done that. But yeah, the second committee did that. We're basically, you would just have to be creating a whatever method to do this going forward. But it would include a lot more heraldric involvement now.
I'm just caught up on the process of how things work and looking at the way the prior minutes read with regards to the Order of Defense. It appears that when the order was officially created by the board, there was a name in place, subject to the Laurel Sovereign of Arms approving it. And then there was also at the same time, a motion was made with regards to the mechanics of this having 3 members before it became a polling order.
Correct.
So-
However, right, but during the discussion on the first vote on the Order of Defense, which failed, by the way, there was much discussion on whether or not it should be the Masters of Defense, the Order of Defense, all of that, the arms and such. That final stamp on the name that went into Corpora is a slightly separate issue from the arms and such. So it's always a fluid situation. It could have been any number of things that when it passed about 2 weeks after it failed. So that was still not decided until the board actually passed it. If that
Okay,
makes sense.
thank you. Thank you. I yield.
Leslie?
I think John and I are kind of working on different levels on this. Yes, there was a committee, but they worked in tandem with the Herald's office on this. He's talking about after the conclusion that it still had to be vetted. So, but I don't believe there is any specific delineated way that this has to be done. You can form a committee if you want, you know, but that the last situation was a little convoluted because of the initial failed vote. And I yield.
Megan?
So just for clarification, because I feel like there's a lot of different moving pieces here, I am kind of trying to figure out where we can move for, like, so if we vote on the motion as it's been proposed, that's not necessarily saying this is done, all the fireworks go off kind of a deal. This is the step that we have today. We're approving this as this. We have to come up with a name. We have to come up with specific guidance, but we're approving the wording that we have currently. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
If I can take that a further step down, the prospective language of the proffered the proffered corporeal language, or excuse me, the proffered motion would essentially be at a top level, it would be a statement of direction to the populace, to the kingdoms, etc. In addition to which, it would also, as I understand it, include direction to the corporate officers in general and the Society Herald in particular, to take the steps necessary within their offices to facilitate the passage of the name and the regalia to ultimately allow the board to take action at a later date to finalize the creation of the order. Does that clarify your question, Megan? Okay.
It does.
And that does bring me around to the core issue. So certainly, if and when we were to pass any such directed motion, that is predicated on our ability to pass, the initial part, which we would still need to get into and talk about. Director Crockwell.
Just for transparency purposes, I know we had a draft of the proposed language. Do we want to share that so that people can at least see what the language that we are talking about, whether it passes or not, at least show them the draft with the proposed changes, if that's something that we can do?
I can certainly read it here. I have it sitting next to my computer, if that would be helpful.
I was thinking maybe share your screen and pull that up briefly, but that's however you want to handle it, that's fine.
I actually have it on my other computer sitting next to this one, but I can pull it up on this one as well. I am a host, okay. Give me a moment, please.
And it was pretty minimal changes to what was sent out for commentary in order to develop this.
Do you want to read it, Jen, while Mark is looking for it to share, or no?
I have it up. I'm about to share
Okay.
my screen. I can find the button to share my screen anyway.
Louise may have to enable that.
Yes.
Mark, you have full host capability. You should be able to select share screen at the bottom of your screen next to chat, Q&A, and all of that.
There it is. Thank you. All right. On the screen is the proposed text of the proffered language that would create such an order. For the benefit of those who can't read the screen, I will read it in brief. It would be item E under the section with the peerages, the order of name to be added. Paragraph I, members of the order of name may choose to swear fealty, but are not required to do so. The candidate must have attained the standard of excellence in skill and/or knowledge equal to that of their prospective peers in pre-17th century ranged martial pursuits as practiced in the SCA. The candidate must have applied this skill and/or knowledge for the instruction of members and service to the kingdom to an extent above and beyond that normally expected of members of the society. Paragraph 2, the duties of the members of the order are as follows. Sentence A, to set an example of courtesy and chivalrous conduct on and off the field of honor. Sentence B, to respect the crown of the kingdom to support and uphold the laws of the kingdom and corpora. Sentence C, if in fealty to support and uphold the crown of their kingdom. Sentence D, to enrich the kingdom by sharing their knowledge and skills. Sentence E, to enhance the renown and defend the honor of the peer's lady or lord. Sentence F, to advise the crown on the advancement of candidates for the order of name to be added, and then other sections renamed as appropriate. Director Krochmal?
Yeah, but I do want to add one thing. I know that there is language in here that nobody likes that needs to be changed. We created this to be consistent with all of the other peerages. There needs to be a massive rewrite to fix the language. For example, to enhance the renown and defend the honor of the peer's lady or lord. That is going to be changed at some point in all of the peerages across the board, but our goal was to create consistency, and then we can go back and change. We wanted to focus on the change for this new prospective order without pulling the other orders and changing all of the language. It's just a step-by-step process, but we recognize that that language will need to change. I think that's the general consensus of the board. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn there. And I yield.
Leave this up for a couple more seconds for anybody who's still reading it, but otherwise I'm about to stop sharing my screen. Okay. So with that said, is there further discussion on this item? Otherwise, I believe Director Krochmal has been holding a motion for some time now. Then Director Krochmal, assuming you choose to do so, you are recognized.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the revisions, the proposed revised changes to corpora for the creation of a new peerage, and to direct Laurel Sovereign at Arms to develop appropriate name and arms for such a peerage with an implementation date to be determined after that is completed.
For clarity, Director Krochmal, I hate to ask you to repeat any of that, but could you repeat the first part of that motion, please?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the revised proposed changes to corpora for the creation of a new peerage and to direct Laurel Sovereign of Arms to submit such name and heraldry to the heraldic comment process with an implementation date to be determined after that is completed.
Thank you. Director Bainter?
Point of clarification, Jennifer, Director Krochmal. Are you recommending that a committee be created to work with the Laurel Sovereign of Arms?
I am open to a friendly amendment. That was not part of my motion. We could, I guess we could address that in a separate motion, how we want to handle that going forward. That I leave that open-ended to the rest of the directors.
Director Fisher?
I believe committees exist at the discretion of the board, so we wouldn't necessarily need to make a motion to form such a committee, but we might, a friendly amendment might be just to change the language that the Laurel Sovereign of Arms will do it in consultation with, I'm not certain. Sorry.
Director Krochmal, would you accept a friendly amendment to specify that the society and corporate officers will take coordinate the creation of the name and heraldry for the prospective order?
I would accept that amendment.
Thank you. The only thing that I have a certain amount of discomfort with in the language that you proffered is that I would want clarity that we are accepting the direction, but that there is still the specifics of actually accepting the order once the name and regalia are passed. If the directors are on the same page, if that is essentially what your motion means, then I will accept that. But otherwise, that seems a bit. I'm a bit uncomfortable with the specifics of how that was stated. Director Krochmal.
I think the language allowing for implementation at a date after the device and name are approved would cover that, because it would need to be implemented and approved. We can change it to implemented and approved at a later date, if that helps at all. I think you're muted.
I am, thank you. I think I'm fairly clear on the intended direction of the motion that you're offering, and I don't intend to be pedantic and whatnot. It just some clarity that there would be a future vote by the board once the name and regalia were passed. If this motion were to pass, I think would be helpful to me. I'm not sure how we would.
Friendly amendment if you have one.
I'm trying to figure out how to make such an amendment, but I haven't figured it out yet. Director Bainter, you had your hand up.
I did. I was trying to figure out the friendly amendment and didn't get there fast enough.
Leslie?
Can I suggest that maybe you amend this into two motions, one to approve the proposed revised language, and then a second to create a committee to be led by Laurel to develop the arms and name?
To clarify, Leslie, if we were to do so, would we be accepting the proposed language contingent upon a future vote? I mean, that's the crux of the difficulty for me.
Apologies. You can certainly add that to the initial motion. Once with the proposed language, implementation to be determined, and then the second motion, how to go about that development so that it can be implemented.
Understood. Director Krochmal?
I think what you just said might be the solution. If we add the language contingent on a vote to approve.
On the final vote to approve the language?
The name and device. Yeah, I think
would you accept such a friendly amendment?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So there is a motion from Director Krochmal. There is not yet a second, and certainly I think we are still open for discussion. Leslie?
Before you take any kind of vote, I need this language restated because it's gone through several.
Understood.
Suggested friendly amendments.
I can try this again because I wasn't writing this down as we were changing it, but I might need some help here.
Okay, can you give me just a second? I'm having trouble with my computer. I couldn't get my hand down, Mark.
So I wanna clarify. I think there's been some questions. We until we vote and we see if this option is going forward, or until we don't, we can't answer some of the questions that have been appearing in the chat because we don't know where it's going yet. This is just a proposal. It's just a motion. Once we vote, then we'll have a better idea where this is going.
Leslie, I need hardly be said, but please let us know when you're ready so that we can proceed.
But I'm ready, thank you.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the proposed revised changes to Corpora that will create a new peerage and direct the Laurel Sovereign of Arms to
Direct the corporate officers.
direct the corporate officers to work with Laurel Sovereign of Arms to create and submit name and heraldry to the heraldic comment process with the intention of opening the order contingent upon a positive vote on name and device submitted or approved.
Contingent upon a future vote to change corpora by the board.
Yes, that'll work. I will accept that. Thank you.
Director Bainter?
As a friendly amendment, the peerage would be for pre-17th century ranged martial pursuits.
I would accept that amendment.
Leslie, do you have that?
No, I'm sorry, I don't. Jennifer, could you put your language in the chat box? Thank you.
And does that actually need to be in there because that language about the ranged weapons is in the proposed language that we would be approving? Do we need to make the motion? Does the motion need to include that?
That is a good question. Since the proposed language was work product that was not part of the file package or the agenda leading in, we would need to include it by reference somewhere, although I think you potentially may have just done so. You're on mute, Jennifer.
Sorry about that. I think it would be included by the reference to proposed revised changes. I'm happy to add it if we want to do that.
Fair enough. And Jennifer and Leslie, please let us know when you've had a chance to send that and that Leslie's gotten it.
A point of clarification while Director Krochmal works on this.
Go ahead, Bug.
For today's vote, since it is not a change to the governing documents, would only require a majority vote as opposed to the 2/3 vote needed for corpora changes.
I believe that is correct. Although functionally, if we did not have a 2/3 vote, I would not have confidence that the subsequent vote would pass either.
I'm sorry, Mark, would you ask Pug to repeat that question again, please?
The question, Mr. Fulton, was today's vote, since it is not a change to our governing documents, would only require a simple majority vote. Whereas when the final verbiage comes back with name and regalia, it would require the 2/3 vote in order to change our governing documents.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mark, you were probably in the middle of saying that. Unless you are changing corpora, which takes 5 out of 7 to pass, then it's more like an intention to do this or direction to do this. That would just take a simple majority. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure we were all aware and our membership were aware when they review this.
Oh, by the way,
send something within our chat. people could just take a look at it and make sure I didn't miss anything.
Jennifer, I added a phrase in the chat that I thought was
better.
was missed. Yeah.
That's an improvement. And I think Director Fisher's amendment is also accepted. Leslie, are you able to get all that?
I see your, whoops, hang on. Oh. I'm sorry, I see your notation. I don't see Mark's, I see Gabe's.
So let me cut and paste and I'll add the whole thing in again.
Okay.
Okay, you should have that.
Okay. Oops, hang on.
You've created a new word. Revensted.
I just figured it was a legal term.
That should be amended instead of revised. Sorry. I was trying to incorporate changes and I blew it.
I think we can fix that from here. Hold on.
Director O'Shea.
Okay. I'm sorry. When you're done with Megan.
Thank you. It's a relatively quick question. Should this motion be approved today, at a later point, could we amend it to shift the language to include something a bit more inclusive? For example, like to add something like mounted into that.
Director Bainter and then John.
This is an intent to move forward. Until we have the final verbiage, we can amend it up until the final vote for Kapora.
John.
Yeah, thank you. I think that was Megan. This is not the actual change to the verbiage. This appears to be an intention to change. After another step is done, the final vote on the actual language can be changed at any time by the board under the way this is currently being discussed.
Which also would have to be passed before, and just to be transparent with everyone. Leslie?
Jennifer, did you mean officers or corporate officers? Did you want to define that?
I didn't want to define that further because I think we can leave that to our officers to determine who they want to pull in.
Okay, I was just checking because Mark had specified. Thank you.
Well, clearly, Jennifer is smarter than Mark, so take her version. Leslie, in the interest of making sure that everybody's on the same page, I know we've had a chance to read it, but could you restate the motion as presented by Director Krochmal?
Yes, sir. Hold on. Motion by Jennifer Krochmal to approve the proposed revisions to Kapora for the creation of a new peerage focused on pre-17th century ranged weapons and to direct officers to work with Laurel Sovereign of Arms to create and submit appropriate name and arms for such peerage with an implementation date to be determined after a vote contingent upon future vote of the board to amend Kapora.
Yeah, contingent on a future vote by a future board to approve the language.
Okay. To be determined after a vote contingent upon a future vote of the board to amend Kapora.
There is a motion from Director Crockmall. Director Fisher?
I just wanted to clarify for people playing along at home who may or may not be confused that the current motion as presented is currently discussing ranged weapons, but we have not eliminated the concept of revising that language at a future date, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. Just for those playing at home who may or may not be confused, I yield.
Okay. There is a motion from Director Crockmall, and now there is a second, rather sneakily, if I may add, from Director Bainter. Is there a discussion on the motion? Director Shepherd?
So I realize that we have the option later to add mounted, but as by the time we get there, I don't know what this board will consist of. I am without that wording, I will stand against this. Because that is the closest we can get to an inclusive. I agree that I think that's the closest we can get to an inclusive version of this wording, to cover as much as we can of the people who were involved in the original wording. Personally, I would like to put this off until the next conference call to give us a chance to look at some things, maybe do some other looking at it, but I understand that's apparently not going to happen. But if you, for me to get behind this, it would have to include mounted. Thank you.
I recognize myself, and I will say that I will state my intent to abstain on this particular item, mainly because I am certainly in favor of portions of it. I am not yet convinced on the rest, and I am not opposed to it and will not vote no against it. But I need more time before I can say that I am in favor of it, for clarity. Director Crockmall?
If somebody wants to make a friendly amendment adding mounted, I mean, I'm not opposed to that if that's something that is desired. I mean, I base this proposal based on the commentary that we received. Believe it or not, there were very few responses regarding equestrian, and many of those responses indicate that many of the equestrians that did respond specifically requested not to be included in an omnibus peerage. So I just want to be clear. I did not decide unilaterally to eliminate a portion. This proposal was based on the feedback that we received. And I'm not opposed to changing the language. So I leave that open-ended for the directors. I yield.
Director O'Shea?
I mean, if a friendly amendment would help get this over the line, if we were to add mounted, then I'm glad to do it.
I can say with some clarity that would get Shep on board, but I would be a no at that point.
Yeah. So I guess it's one of those, whatever helps us move this forward, tell me, I will do the thing.
John?
Make sure I lowered my hand. Thank you. So just again, this is not the final corpora change. Obviously, unanimous agreement at this time is not the objective. The objective is for the board to make some type of a decision on how you may want to go forward. So I think trying to work up something that's going to be unanimous when, again, I will admit Jennifer's suggestion yesterday was surprising, is this is still a forward motion. I would not concern ourselves with getting all 7 people to be on board, because the nature of this means you just need 4 to pass whatever is proposed in any normal motion. And this does not at this time change any of the operating documents. So that's it. Thank you, Mark.
Director Crockmall?
Yeah, one additional thing. The one message that was pretty clear in most of the commentary that we received was that we should not let the goal of getting something perfect stand in the way of progress. So that is why I have proposed this today. It is not perfect. I don't know that there is a perfect solution, but it is progress. It is something that we could put forward. Our goal was to make as many people happy as possible. We understand that it is literally impossible to make everybody happy, especially when the commentary was so diverse and differed in goals. So that I truly believe this is the best we can do, and perfect is a thing out there that I think is just unattainable. And I yield.
Okay, there is still a motion and a second on the floor. Is there other discussion on this motion? Okay, there being none, we will move to the voting. Before we vote, do any of the directors need the motion read back again? Okay. Directors in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. The directors opposed, please signify by saying nay or raising your hand. Nay. 3 nay. And there is 1 abstention with myself. I believe that is 3 to the affirmative, 3 to the negative, and 1 abstention, and that motion does not pass. Leslie? Leslie, if you're speaking, you're on mute.
Sorry, I was trying to get to the button. Mark, I'm sorry, but I was typing. I need you to name your yays and nays so I can make sure that I have them correct in minutes.
I'm sure they will correct me if I get it wrong, but the yays were Megan, Pug, and Jennifer. The nays were Gabrielle, Krista, and Shep, and I abstained.
Thank you.
Megan?
Without going through a whole nother motion debacle, is there a way to redo that and put it forward with mounted included? And do a vote on that?
You are free to make a motion to that effect, but
sorry, Mr. Chairman, I move to, well, so I don't even know how to make that motion because we'd have to revise the revisions to include that.
That is correct.
Can someone who's better at the word crafting?
Actually, I imagine that would look like the original language that was circulated to the populace. So I think if you were to take out the part about revised language and the part about pre-17th century missile combat, you would be back to the original language that was circulated to the populace, and you would and you could make a motion based on that. I believe in furtherance of that Jennifer has put some language in the chat that I think encapsulates what you're looking for, Megan. Megan, you still have the floor, but I do have folks who would like to speak.
I yield for the moment till I have a chance to read through what's there. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Shepherd.
Mr. Chairman, I think at this point it might be best for us to take my earlier suggestion and put this on, on for the conference call and take this time to look over the commentary more, get a better idea, maybe get you or I on board with something. I don't think we have the support for this right now. as written, as proposed. And I'm not sure at this point that without looking at all the other information, I could even support it.
I think that
As
that
amended.
commentary may best be directed to Director O'Shea,
Yep.
who is currently considering
Yep.
making another motion. Leslie?
Yes, sir.
Unless I'm mistaken, I thought you had your hand up.
Sorry. Wonky computer. Didn't mean
No
to.
worries. Director O'Shea?
I yield at this point. I don't think that we have the votes right now. If I were to propose a vote for the original, I yield.
Considering the time and that we have not yet done so, without objection from the directors, I would propose that we take a bio break at this point. I know I could use some water and a trip to the restroom. Without such objection, is 10 minutes sufficient or do we need 15? I see thumbs up for 10. That would put us at 10 minutes. Yes, that would put us a quarter past the hour. All right, so we will stand in and recess until quarter past the hour. I see that the directors are back. Leslie, John, Liz, are you all back and ready to go?
I am.
I am, Mark.
Thank you, John. Leslie?
Yes, sir.
All right. Before we proceed, I do want to sum up a bit, if I may. I think it seems fairly clear from the discussion that that the board, as a body, is minded to that recognizes a need and is minded to create another peerage to cover that need, and that we have some work to do in terms of reaching consensus on the scope of that peerage and what it would cover. I think it would be fair to say that this is some work that we will continue to execute on in our next conference call and whatnot. And I'm hopeful that we can reach consensus on a path forward that would allow us to execute on something that clearly is a priority for the membership, in varying degrees. All right. With that stated, the next item on the agenda for us would be item 4E. This is corpora changes. Liz?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is just an update at, I'm pretty sure it was the January meeting. The board approved putting out for comment corpora changes that would remove references within corpora to courts of inquiry, courts of chivalry, that sort of thing, which would not necessarily require kingdoms to get rid of those in their laws if they chose not to, but would remove them, as we have other mechanisms for what these were originally designed to do, and they're not very utilized by kingdoms, frankly. This language has not yet gone out for comment because at that meeting, several corpora changes of various sorts were approved to be sent out. And in the interest of not overwhelming the populace, we have kind of triaged how to send those out. That one, in my opinion, is a lower priority than some of the others. Right now, we have some changes involving updating language on subscriptions. We have some changes involving the possible addition of a patron membership, and we have changes to the marshalate rules that are all out for comment at once. So this one is still in the queue to go out. I'm hoping to do that within the next 2 or 3 weeks. So that's an update.
As a point of clarification, Liz, I'm fairly certain we've already voted to approve circulating that language.
Yes, the board did approve to circulate it. It just, the circulation hasn't happened yet because of the immense queue of other things that the board also has approved to circulate.
Understood. By consensus and without objection, the board takes note of our current status. That would bring us to item F, the updated newsletter access language. John?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the newsletter changes to Corpora and corporate policy is, et cetera, are still up on the website. I'm going to post this thing on our chat here so that Bridget or Louise could put it out in the general chat. Commentary is still open. What this does is remove all requirements to be an officer having access to a publication, a Kingdom newsletter. All newsletters were made several years ago to be open to everybody. So those are non-active parts of Corpora, and especially corporate policy, that just need to be adjusted. It's a bookkeeping move, but it is a substantial bookkeeping move, and everybody should have a chance to talk about it. And that is going to be open, I think, for at least another month. This is, if for those who pay attention to the home game, since the January meeting, there has been a huge amount of material going out for commentary, just like a flood of stuff on all manner of rules. At least 4 officers are doing that currently. Some of the stuff got resolved today. It's going to be continued because you don't want to dump everything all at once. There's still some stuff that was going to be put out in January that's still waiting to be put out for commentary. This is an ongoing process and we all need to get used to it. But the newsletter things should be able to be addressed by the board. I believe by the next conference call, definitely by the July meeting.
The commentary period for this particular one closes May 30th.
Yes.
So we may miss the next conference call, but the one after we should be able to
Right,
handle it.
right. And that's it on that subject. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Without, or by consensus, without objection, the board takes note of that as well. Item G, under old business, this is proposed addition to Corpora, section 4A on royalty selection. Liz?
Again, Mr. Chairman, this was approved not, I believe, at the January meeting, but at one of the conference calls this quarter to be put out for commentary. For the audience, for people who were aware, I did a Corpora interpretation sometime a year or so ago, which was upheld, which stated that while crowns have the right to deny participation in a royal list to individuals, they can't extend that right to large groups of people or identifiable groups of people. The board upheld that interpretation, but some crowns have not necessarily gotten with that program. So I proposed putting something in Corpora to address this. We did send something out for commentary. We got useful commentary back that indicated people were generally in favor of the concept, but not necessarily the exact language. After taking all that into consideration, a rewrite was done and the board has approved putting that out for commentary. That's the next one on my queue. I think it's more important than the Court of Chivalry changes. So I'm planning on getting that out to Bridget this week and to the people who need to know for a commentary period. A little explanation for the audience. Whenever we want to change the governing documents, typically things are put out for a 60-day period for commentary by the populace before the board decides whether they're going to change it or not. And that commentary helps guide them in what they want to do. This was a great example of that because language revisions were made based on commentary that we got. So again, this is going out for commentary, hopefully within the next week or so. And then in due course, the board will act on it or not, and we'll see what happens. That's the update on that one, Mr. Chair.
And as with the previous changes, we have already voted to circulate this language for commentary.
Yes.
Without, or by consensus, without objection, the board takes note of this as well. This brings us to item H under old business, proposed addition to corpora from patron membership. John?
Yes, thank you, Mark. So the patron membership is out for comment. It, I believe this commentary ends the first week of May. It involves the possibility of adding a new type of membership, a more expensive donating type membership. Again, but nothing other than possibly if we create it, you pay, proposed right now is $150. Maybe you get a t-shirt or a hat or something, and the very sincere thanks of the SCA, in addition to everybody else who becomes a member. But it just, it's something that's been done before, it's been tried before, and we're going to see how that works. But you still have at least 3 weeks or so, I believe, for commentary to come in. Again, check the area on SCA.org that lists all of the commentary under, announcements, and tell the board what you think. Tell the officers what you think. Thank you.
Again, by consensus and without objection, the board takes note of this item as well. That would bring us to item 5, new business. Although I note that there is no new business on the agenda. So I will now move to item 6A, which is the report of the president. John?
Takes me a while to hit those buttons. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, let me say that right now, it appears that Bao, the incoming president, will take official possession of my office June 1st. The training is going on between myself and the incoming president. So everyone keep that in mind. He does have a temporary holding email address. If you contact me and you want to contact him, mine is president@sca.org. I believe it is president-elect@sca.org. But he and I are going to spend a lot of time together in the next several weeks. I have no requested board actions. The board has picked my successor. Hooray. Policy interpretations, none. New policies, none. Commendations. And this was written before the decision on the new president. So please keep that in mind when I submitted this at the beginning of the month. I will have a final goodbye, overly wordy, I'm sure, commendation letter ready on the last day of my employment as president of SCA Inc. That retirement date should be sometime the next several weeks as the board selects the new president. Until then, my respect, thanks, and commendations go to everyone who worked to provide the effort, fund, foundation, and execution of the society's events, meetings, classes, and so on, so that all of us can enjoy our participation in this historical reenactment organization. Please take the time to actually look at those who toil and work so that they do all of that so that other people can enjoy and have fun and learn on their own. Thank them. For every person in front of our vision of what we see, there are dozens behind the scenes to whom we all owe gratitude also. It isn't the grandeur of this organization that is the most valuable of the treasures. Our most valuable treasure, in my opinion, are those who continually aid and assist others. We owe them everything. So I will submit my commendation letter, I'm sure sent out through some other types of avenues. It'll be long, it'll be weepy. Publishable summary. The January 2024 board meeting produced a large number of possible changes to Corpora, the bylaws, corporate policies. The DEIB, Society Marshal, Society Seneschal, and my office all had suggestions to a wide variety of the operating documents. Starting soon after the January meeting, the announcement to go out, keep up with some of them. We mentioned most of these. The patron membership, the omnibus peerage proposal, which went out for commentary, closed, and we just saw some of that discussed today. By the time the quarterly membership rates were increased in January, as long as the non-member add-on at the meeting, by the April 2024 meeting, these implementations will all have passed. The new membership rates and the new non-member discount are in effect. If you are interested and want to know anything about our budgets or anything regarding to how money is spent for the corporation, contact me, president@sca.org. The SCA Kingdoms and Groups continue to hold events, meetings, classes, etc. And 2024 looks to continue the growth of the number of such activities. GoForce 2024 had an attendance of over 2,900, I believe, and was, except for the usual rain, a complete success. Other large events, Collegium Wars such as Penzix and others, ANS coronations, investitures, and similar enjoyable times are upcoming in the spring, summer, and fall, and appear to be encouraging signs that the SCA is growing. And as we've all know, our online president classes and such and contact and meetings still go on over the electronic media, and that is in itself notable and wonderful. I urge everybody to go to the SCA.org website, take a look around. You will never know what you'll find there. It does change on a fairly regular basis. It is worth looking around. It is also worth giving to anybody who's interested in the SCA. We have, I did put in my report that I did admit to a good bit of admiring and shopping at the marketplace at the very top of SCA.org. The SCA Feast Beast Oven Mitt is quite attractive. It is a commercial ad. Several officers should this court have some important things in their report. So please check my after report, which will occur after board report, which will occur 2 to 4 weeks after this meeting. Bao and I will work on that. After that, it will become Bao's instrument. And it'll have a pretty good recap of what happened today, including information from all of the officers. Thanks yet again to all who have contacted me for permission prior to using the trademark SCA logo and name on merchandise intended to be sold. Permission is needed prior for that use. If you have any questions, again, president@sca.org. Mr. Chairman, this is theoretically my last report as president for the board of directors. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Your report, by consensus, your report is gratefully accepted. That would bring us to item 6A1, the report of the, I believe now Vice President for Information Technology.
Jennifer, do you have that?
I do. Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to read that report. Because the VP of Technology is not able to be present. Requested board actions, none. Policy interpretations, email accounts provided by the SCA for an office are for official business and communications in relation to SCA functions. If the SCA provides an email account for an office, all official email communications relating to that office must utilize the provided account. And 2, I have extended a variance of the policy above, E.1, for the East Kingdom for 6 months until 11/30/24 while we investigate their system. They have an automated system which reportedly meets the intent of this policy while not exactly matching the wording above. I am meeting with them to get a feel for their system to evaluate it and the policy interpretation in V1. New policies, none at this time. The work on the policy document is ongoing, but we've hit a snag right at the end of March, which made submission for this meeting unwise. Commendations, Russ Smith, Reese App Tutor, for his continued excellent work for the SBA in all its aspects. General status report. The Information Technology Department completed another major project and continues 2 more this quarter. The engagement with Tech Impact to migrate our Office 365 instance was completed without impact for the society and corporate volunteers. This concludes our business with Rackspace, eliminating their costs from our budget. The new service is almost entirely offset by Microsoft nonprofit grants. The SharePoint project is ongoing. We have led several meetings with Tech Impact about the process and goals of this project. When finished, the corporate SharePoint instance should be more well-organized, efficient, and user-friendly. The IT policy project is ongoing. We have made more progress and were remarkably close to being done. At the last minute, we were made aware of an existing system which would have been in violation of one of the draft policies, but seemed to meet the intent of that policy. Investigations are ongoing into this system and appropriate wording of that policy. Publishable summary, information technology continues to work to improve our offerings and reduce our budget. The Office 365 migration is complete and has resulted in significant monthly budget reduction. The corporate SharePoint migration project is ongoing. Once completed, we will have a more efficient and user-friendly SharePoint instance. The policy project is ongoing and close to completion, but care is being taken to not negatively impact systems that are working and meet the intent of a given policy. That concludes the report from the VP of Information Technology.
Thank you, Jennifer. By consensus and without objection, the report of the, Director Fisher.
Do we not need to take action on his action items, uphold his policy interpretation and variance?
Yes.
Let me go back.
Let me go back to that. There's it looks like to me like that's a variance and not a policy interpretation.
It's
and
one
they're
policy
evaluating.
and then a variance to uphold that policy, a variance of that policy interpretation for the East Kingdom. So
Pardon me, I thought that the policy interpretation was a restatement of an existing policy interpretation. Excuse me.
I'm happy to make motions.
Please.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we uphold the policy interpretation regarding email accounts provided by the SBA for official business and communications be approved.
There's a motion by Director Krochmal and a second by Director Shepherd. Is there discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to the voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Those opposed? And without abstention, that motion carries.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the variance extended by the VP of Information Technology to allow 6 months for them to investigate this to the East Kingdom to allow investigation of their systems for compliance.
Motion by Director Krochmal, second by Director Fisher. Is there a discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye, raising your hand. Those opposed? And without abstention, that motion carries. I believe that closes out the requested board actions or policy interpretations and variances from that report. And that would bring us to item 6A1A, the report of the Society Web Minister.
I believe that also falls to me, Mr. Chairman.
You are correct.
Requested board actions, none. Policy interpretation concerning AI being used for websites and event flyers. Atlantia has asked for a corporate stance/statement on their usage. The Society web minister passed that along. While at this time there is no official policy on the usage of AI art, it is strongly recommended that Creative Commons licensing and attribution, as well as local artists' work, be used with permission should they desire to donate their time and talents to any project with any artistic endeavor. As this subject is not solely rooted in the web minister's office, but also for any office that might use artwork in publishing, it is the web minister's position that a formal policy be examined for possible implementation. New policies, none. Commendation. The Society web minister commends the East Kingdom web ministers for detecting a potential security vulnerability and correcting that vulnerability before any data leak occurred. Those individuals are Magister Simon of Barnesdale, mundanely Chad Bergeron, Mistress Vika Brigina Z. Frazee, Tori Swan, Master Joel Messer, Joel Lord, Maestro David Vasquez de Valencia, David Cortijo, Meister Mail in Mac Ethiad, Mike Broggy, Master Matthias von Würzburg, Matt Jackson. General status report. 14 kingdoms submitted reports this quarter. 6 had nothing of note to report. There are several changeovers happening this year over the next few months, with new web ministers stepping up to serve their kingdoms. Palantir and North Shield have been working together on projects, and Atenveld has just finished their order of precedence database. Publishable summary. Overall, kingdoms are still reaching across borders and helping one another with projects to prevent the reinvention of the wheel. I have several meetings with the new kingdom web minister and their teams over the next few months. That concludes the report. I do have a question about the policy interpretation and whether we need to vote to approve it, since it's not really a policy interpretation. I think you're muted.
I have the same question, but I think John is about to weigh in on that. John?
Thank you. No, that's not a policy. That's his suggestion on how to go forward and formulate this. So I don't think the board needs to approve his intention to go out and get some good answers and make some good policies and get some new handbook stuff done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
As noted, I think that's within the purview of his office, of their office. Without objection and by consensus, the report of the Society web minister is accepted. This would bring us to item 6A2, the Society Communications Officer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple of notes just in general for everyone's information. The commendations deck, which people have seen in the last couple of meetings, hit some technical issues. So our thanks for your patience with that. But a full list of all commendations that were submitted to the board will be available via the announcements later today. So please stay tuned to both social media and the standard email channel for that information. And our thanks again. I know for a start, I also have a large list of commendations. I asked the board to note that the draft annual report will be submitted to them very shortly for their feedback and clearance for 2023. The Society recently completed its 5th official scavenger hunt, which is an online initiative that started during the pandemic, which brings people together from all over the known world. For example, there were 20 active teams made up of 150 players who collectively put together 526 different entries. This is a huge undertaking, including things like people as part of this competition made over 100 pieces of largesse. They performed public service, they recommended people for awards, they bought memberships, submitted heraldry, and generally just participated and celebrated the SCA in all its diversity. So this is our 5th scavenger hunt, and we're really, really happy with how it's gone. Huge thanks to everybody on that team. Corporate partnerships are currently being looked at the moment to enhance the ongoing member benefits. Corporate partnerships are those opportunities where your membership might actually gain you a discount or a benefit in some of your non-SCA life. We are continuing to look at that at the moment. As may have gotten a bit of a heads up, new items were released to the SCA merchandise store. We have additional social media platforms being trialled just at the moment. Ravelry, for example, is being trialled for an official guild use in Atlantia. We're currently developing success criteria and the risk assessment to support that. Really happy to welcome, and our thanks to people's patience on this front. I'd like to welcome Michael Acaro as the new video deputy. This will mean that meeting records, among other things, should start going back to the YouTube channel much faster than they have in the last couple of months. Thank you very much. And we continue to provide support to the board, corporate office, society and kingdom officers. Thank you to everybody who provides feedback and who helps enable communication in the society. That concludes the summary of my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Bridget. By consensus and without objection, the report of the Society Communications Officer is accepted. That would bring us to item 6A3, the Society Media Officer. Bridget, were you summarizing that one as well, or no?
I thought I'd be very efficient, Mr. Chair, and I have covered both.
Excellent, thank you. Then I would say that without objection by consensus, that report is also accepted. And then I have 6A4 on my agenda, although I will note that that report is not present, so we will continue on. Item 6B, the report of the Society Seneschal. Liz?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now let me page back up to where I began. Okay. My requested board action was the approval of the Sanctions Policies and Procedure Manual, which was already covered. I had no policy interpretations this quarter. I had no new policies this quarter. Group status changes has already been covered. I'm just briefly going to mention, since the commendations scroll is broken, that I had 3 Kingdom Seneschals that have either turned over in the last couple of weeks or are about to, and these people are the workhorses of your kingdoms. So I'm just going to briefly thank them here. Danielle Hunt, Magistra Audrey Benet stepped down as East Kingdom Seneschal a couple of weeks ago. Sarah Oldenburg Garcia, Baroness Sorka, I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name, is the North Shield Kingdom Seneschal, who is stepping down in 1 week. And Tamara Gulliver, the Honorable Lady Katrina Yarborough, is the West Kingdom Seneschal, who is stepping down in about 3 weeks. All 3 of those ladies have worked extremely hard in their offices and have dealt with all of the problems that go with being Kingdom Seneschal, and they have my thanks. I'm also going to briefly mention I have been working on an update to the Seneschal's Handbook, and I spent a very productive weekend with my Emergency Deputy Stacy Hall and Director KT Shepard. They gave up a weekend to help me work on revisions, and it was an amazingly productive weekend, and I want to thank them both for their help. We could never have gotten that done over Zoom or email as far as we got. We got probably a good half of the work done, and a lot of the rest of it is routine. There were a number of Kingdom commendations, which of course I'm not going to read right here in the interest of time, since we haven't been doing that. I will move on. Travel during the first quarter of 2024, I attended the board meet and greet that was held at Ontier's 12th night coronation. I also attended Gulf Wars, where there was also a board meet and greet. Later this month, I've been invited by the Kingdom of Avakal to present at their Grand TUA University event, and I'll be teaching a class there on corporate structure and documents and one on investigations procedures. I'm going to be out of the country for most of May, and I plan to attend Lily's War in June. Other summer events are not settled yet, although I'll certainly be at Penzic. Publishable summary. Events large and small, indoor and outdoor, have been happening during the winter months. There have been some rough spots with site contracts, sites that now charge a lot more than they did a few years back, and similar concerns, but overall it appears that the known world is back in session. There continues to be interest in hybrid and virtual events, particularly for classes. Some kingdoms have started or continued holding online classes on weeknights that are often geared toward newer SCA members. While there's no substitute for the in-person nature of the SCA experience, we can use what we learned during the pandemic to help broaden the reach of the organization. During this quarter, the SCA raised membership rates and in the additional fee for non-member participants at events for the first time in over a decade. While nobody likes to see prices rise, the reality is that everything becomes more expensive over time, and the costs to the organization are no exception. Membership fees allow us to continue playing the game we love at the level we've become used to by providing necessary insurance, infrastructure, and services. Those items benefit all who attend events, whether they choose to become paid members or not. Several kingdoms have lengthy kind of trademark camping events coming up in the upcoming months, and Penzic 51 planning is in full swing. Please remember to dress for the expected weather, hydrate, and use sunscreen. I would also add that if you are old enough and choose to consume alcohol, please be responsible. It is striking how many incident reports cross my email that include that someone had apparently consumed a larger amount of alcohol than was advisable. I enjoy having a beer or two at events that allow it myself, but a lot of questionable behavior might be avoided with a little more care in that area. Have fun, be careful, and be kind. Remember that next weekend, you may find yourself working side by side with the person you had a violent Facebook argument with last week. And now I'm going to go off script just a little bit. This appears to be John Fulton's last quarterly meeting. When I first got into the sausage making, I was a bouncing baby kingdom seneschal with 5 weeks training, and John was society seneschal. And he was a tremendous aid to me then. I've had the opportunity to work with him several times since then in the society, and I don't think there's any way that I can thank him enough for the guidance and help he's given me over the years and the listening ear. And I don't think there's any way the SCA can really thank this person enough for all he's done for us. And I wanted the opportunity to very briefly state that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and everybody for your indulgence there. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Liz. By consensus, without objection, your report is gratefully accepted. Item 6B1, the report of the Society Chatelaine, who I believe is present on the call. Michelle.
Okay. Hi, am I on? Is it working? I think it's working. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Jean-Marie. I'm the Society Chatelaine. And you'll have to forgive me. I've had some email issues and problems before, so I didn't get a chance to actually deliver my report. Luckily, Liz had my back on that. But can someone just give me a quick, how does this work? How do I do this? Like, I have my report that I submitted. Do I just go over and just tell you what's in it? Is that what we're doing? Hello?
Go through action items if you have any.
Okay.
Any requested board action, and then you would go down to your publishable summary.
Awesome.
If that helps.
Thank you. Okay, so requested board actions, none. Policy interpretations, none. New policies, none. Commendations, you can see on there, I did put a few things down, and primarily it's regarding the Known World Chatelaine Symposium, which was held December 31st, 2023. It was a huge success. Big thanks to Master Fergie out of Atenveld, who kind of spearheaded that. And I'm really excited to report that we're going to do it again this year. The dates are out, November 30th and December 1st. Again, it's going to be a Zoom thing, so everyone can attend no matter what kingdom you're in. They are submitting, or excuse me, they are requesting classes. So if you know anyone, if you want to spread the word, that'd be great. And the team that is going to be doing it this time is going to be Callantyr. And we're super excited about it. Their kingdom, Chatelaine, Lord Otter Sercherson, he's going to be spearheading this. He is already on top of this, you guys. I'm so proud of him. He is just killing it. So that's kind of the big thing. Also, just kudos what I saw at Gulf War. And I was able to travel to Gulf War and attended the officer meet and greet, which was exciting. It was exciting to hear all of you talking about what you're doing, and we were able to talk a little bit about what we're doing. And I just found it really empowering and really exciting to be a part of everything. General status report. The only real thing that is going on that the officers are reporting on is we have officers that are just not reporting. Numerous times, like this last time, I got what, 12 kingdoms reporting in. I don't know why I'm not getting other emails checked in. I'm not sure if it's attack of life. I'm gonna work with some of my team, and maybe we can come up with some ideas about how to kind of figure out what's going on and empower our officers. Because this is a volunteer organization, you know, what's the worst that can happen? You know, that's it. That's all I've got. So hopefully we can find a solution for that one. Ongoing projects, I just put down, I want to work on an updated roster. We've had a few turnovers. And I want to kind of get that up to speed. And I also want to get a workup roster. I don't think there is one. I've looked through my whole office and I don't see one. So maybe we're going to kind of start from scratch on that one, but get a spreadsheet going on so we can see who's doing what, get everything organized, what warrants are in place, memberships, all that stuff, so that we can keep a better track of who the officers are, what they're doing, and make sure that we know that way I can support them better, because it's my job to make sure they're successful, period, full stop. So summaries, I have asked Master Fergus out of Atenveld. We worked together so great. I asked him if he would be my deputy, and he agreed. I'm super excited about that one, and just lots of kingdom summaries to go over. Do I go over that? Do you guys want to hear that stuff, or do you want to just read the report? I don't want to take up more time than I'm supposed to.
I'll say that in the interest of time, you can file that part, and that we will, we have read through that actually already.
Fantastic. So you guys can review that. It's all in there. I put some details down and I named names where I could. But there's a lot of really good stuff going on out there. I don't want to make it sound like doom and gloom. But I really want to let you guys know that a lot of discussion is coming up about, membership's down, the populace isn't excited. I'm sorry, that's not what I'm hearing. I'm hearing the populace is excited. I'm hearing that the officers are doing their jobs, and just because I'm not getting a couple reports here and there doesn't mean that exciting things aren't happening and all of that. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling positive. I'm excited to work with Charles a little bit more and get things going on. My publishable summary is short and sweet, but here we go. It says, greetings, known world. I am so incredibly proud of all the hard work that your Kingdom Chatelaine Hospitallers are doing, not only to welcome our newcomers to their new SCA family, but to welcome back returning members and those who are transferred or moved to a brand new kingdom. It is in this effort that I want to send special commendation. It's the boots on the ground officers who are making the SCA dream happen. And I want you to know you are seen, you are heard, and I am so proud of all the hard work that you're putting in on behalf of your kingdoms and your populace. Thank you so much. I can't emphasize that enough. Now that Gulf War is concluded and a great time was had by everyone, let's turn our attention towards the upcoming summer activities, which are going to be including magnificent tournaments, exciting demos, and of course the big events like Pennsic. Let's all remember that while we're having fun, keep an eye out for our newcomer friends who might be shy or unsure of how to get involved. So please extend your hands of welcome and friendship, because you are literally meeting the future of your kingdom and you're meeting the future of the SCA. You're all doing great. You've got this. Keep being awesome. In service and excitement, Jean-Marie Le Perrier. And that's it.
Excellent, thank you.
Welcome.
By consensus and without objection, your report is accepted. That would bring us to item 6B 2, Society Youth Activities Officer, Mickey. Or Liz, if she's been present.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, she notified me that her battery on her computer was going dead, so she was going to have to drop off. So I will, with your permission, present that report.
Please continue.
Okay, Society Youth Officer Report. Requested board actions, none. Policy interpretations, none. New policies, none. On ongoing projects, she holds monthly Zoom meetings with Kingdom youth officers. She has made a number of resources for youth parents and families available via website links, YouTube videos, etc. She's an educator, so she had a file of those ready to go when she got this job. New projects, she says she's added a newsletter online for the Kingdom Ministers of Youth, so that they've got more sources of information. Travel, none at the present. Publishable summary. Youth activities are continuing to grow in all kingdoms. Inter-kingdom wars have many youth and teen activities and mentoring opportunities available. Kingdoms are also looking at ways of including whole family activities as well. Please contact your kingdom, barony, and shire ministers or officers of youth for ways to participate. And that concludes her report.
Thank you very, very much. By consensus and without objection, that report is accepted as well. This would bring us to item 6C, the report of the Vice President for Corporate Operations, Louise.
And that's me. Thank you, Mr. Chair. All right, this one should be fairly short. I've got no board actions, policy interpretations, or new policies. Commendations. Obviously, there's not much I can say that you don't already know, and I'm sure others will have much more eloquent, entertaining, and potentially weepy tributes. So I will simply say thank you to John Fulton, John the Bear Killer, our outgoing president. Thank you for your support and guidance of myself and the corporate office during a time of extreme change. Thank you for your sense of humor, your matter-of-fact nature, and your passion and dedication to this society. I have so enjoyed working with you and look forward to seeing what kind of trouble you're going to get up to next as a free agent. I would also like to extend a heartfelt welcome to Bao Pham. I am so looking forward to working with you in your new capacity as president of the society. My general status report: insurance certificate requests continue to skyrocket. We processed 234 insurance requests in the first quarter of the year. This is compared to 140 in the same time period in 2023. If events continue in this vein, we are set to hit 1,000 certificates by the end of 2024. So for comparison's sake, we processed 700 in 2023. This is a 56% increase from 2022, 16% more than the average annual number for the 5 years prior. So events are back and they are happening. This is probably at least a third of the corporate office work at this point. Insurance requests are handled and processed within the week they are received. We are working on finalizing a new electronic process for requesting certificates, which should help streamline the process and save time and energy on both sides. As I mentioned earlier, a number of bank authorizations for local and regional groups have been put on hold due to interesting new verification issues with our bank. These issues are being resolved by our Wells Fargo account manager, and all authorizations should be moving ahead again as soon as possible. The Membership Assistance Fund continues to be utilized regularly. These funds are set aside for any member experiencing financial hardship who could use a bit of help maintaining their membership. We have seen a 350% increase in requests to the Assistance Fund since the new member fees increases went into effect in this last quarter, including for many new members. So we remain continually grateful for the generosity of our donors to this fund. More information can be found on the SCA website. It's sca.org/membership assistance fund. If you can't find it or if you have any questions, just reach out to us at membership. Speaking of which, we continue to maintain an inbox zero level on membership at sca.org. All membership emails received during business hours are handled that day, and messages received during off time are responded to within 1 business day. As a reminder, our business hours are Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific time. We don't work on the weekends as much as I'm sure we would love to. We thank you for your patience and remind you to please treat the corporate office and all officers with the same courtesy and respect you would show any of your fellows. The membership FAQ, which is accessible via both the membership portal and sca.org, is continually updated with answers to frequently asked questions and solutions to common user issues. As always, please reach out to us at membership@sca.org if you have questions or need assistance, at insurance@sca.org for insurance questions and certificate requests. And for background check matters, please contact backgroundchecks@sca.org or your Kingdom Seneschal. No travel, publishable summary is exactly the same. That is the corporate report.
Thank you very much, Louise. By consensus and without objection, that report is accepted. This would bring us to item 6C1, the report of the publications manager.
Yes,
Gloria,
Gloria is not able to join us. So for the most part, the publications team is also going to be the me show. Here follows the publications manager report for first quarter of 2024 by Gloria Woodard, known in the SCA as Honor of Restermel. No board actions, policy interpretations, or new policies. Commendations and thanks to the entire publications team for their dedication to providing quality publications for the SCA. Thanks to Louise Ducre for being supportive and a helping hand when needed. That's embarrassing. General status report. The publications team continues to provide quality and informative publications for the SCA community. Publishable summary. The publications team produces monthly Kingdom newsletters, Tournaments Illuminated, and complete anachronist publications. If you are not familiar with our quarterly publications, take the opportunity to look through these amazing publications. Subscriptions are available through the SCA bookshop at sca.org. No travel, and that's it.
excellent, thank you. By consensus and without objection, that report is also gratefully accepted. Item 6C2, the report of the Tournaments Illuminated editor.
Yes, this is from Darcy O'Neill, known in the SCA as Riordan McGregor. Again, no board actions, policy interpretations, or new policies. My particular gratitude to publications manager Gloria Woodard, TI Art Director Joyce Morris, my deputy Kirsten O'Brien, and KWT section editor Bobby Scoville, whose combined care and help were invaluable this quarter in helping me once again move forward. My warmest thanks also to longtime contributors and friends of Tournaments Illuminated, Jonna Holloway of the Middle Kingdom and Suzanne Meyer of the Kingdom of Drachenwald for their kind assistance with issues 221 and 222 in particular. General status report. Owing to complications in my modern life that led to an unforeseen pause in production, issue 221 did not go to press as expected. Production is once more moving forward, and issues 221 and 222 will appear with less than the usual quarter between them. Submissions to or questions about quest topics are welcome and should be sent to the editor at tieditor@sca.org. That's it.
Excellent, thank you. Without objection and by consensus, the report is accepted. And that will take us to item 6C3, the report of the complete anachronist editor.
It's a one-guy show. It's all me. The tickets don't sell well.
And
So this
we're
is
all the
coming.
better for it.
So this is the report of the complete anachronist editor, Ellen Rawson, known as in the SCA as Ariel of Lindisfarne. Requested board actions. Oh, there is one. Sarah Rossi. I don't think this is actually a board action, but I will mention it just so people know, because this has been an ongoing issue. Co-author of Complete Anachronist 202 resides in Italy. She is not an SCA member, but she worked with Daniel Phelps. Lucet fans in, I'll summarize. The recent issue of the Lucet Compendium was written by one of our members in Europe, and we noticed at that point that it was difficult for our friends in Europe to buy things off of the store because shipping has gotten crazy. So we are working with an issue. We're working to investigate this issue that might involve drop shipping so that we can have books available for our friends across the pond that they don't have to pay $22 on a $7 book. So that's all that. I don't think that's a board action.
I believe that is within the purview of the office.
All right. So we're going to
short
do
of a specific request.
Yeah, so we're going to do that. That's going to happen. No worries. Commendations. Thank you to Garfield Matson for CA 203 Havamal, the Song of Har. I don't understand diacritics, so I probably mispronounced that, and his determination to create his own translation of this part of the Poetic Edda. Thanks also for him allowing me to make some editing changes. Elise Fleming is currently finishing her copy editing work, and I know that her eyes will catch anything I've missed. I have no doubt that Sue Gilbert's layout will be fantastic. Final kudos must go to Atli Freyr Gudmundsson, a member of the Shire of Klakavyrki in Iceland. Here in Drakenwald, he is a native Icelandic speaker. I'm not. An archaeologist, and is very interested in the Icelandic sagas. Although he wasn't able to review the entire manuscript, he was available for questions regarding some tricky translations. His language expertise made it clear that translations of poetry, especially translations from older languages, can vary quite a bit depending on the translator's interpretations and poetic bent. General status report, the manuscript status for 2024 QICA 203 Havamal, the Song of Har, is in the final editing stages and should be sent to Sue Gilbert soon. Goal is to send it to Sue this week and then get it to Joyce before the end of April. So that's the next one coming, and manuscripts are always gratefully accepted. And that's what's going on. That's what's happening with Complete Anachronist.
Thank you very much. By consensus and without objection, that report is gratefully accepted as well. And this would bring us to 6C 4, excuse me, the Society Chronicler.
This one is much simpler. And there's no Icelandic diacritics here. From Crystal Smith, our chronicler known in the Society as Mistress Cecilia Blythe, OP. No board actions, no policy interpretations, no new policies, and no commendations at this time. General status report, Black Fox judging is almost completed. Award certificates to be printed and sent out with new winner medallions. Publishable summary, thanks to all the Kingdom Chroniclers for their work. Look for Black Fox information soon, both for winners and for preparing for New Year's submissions. And that's it.
Excellent, thank you.
The next one's Travis, I'm gone.
By consensus and without objection, that report is gratefully accepted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And now 6C5, the Society Archivist, Travis. Travis, you're on mute.
It was fun talking to myself there for a moment. So I am Travis Schenk, Society Archivist, Ramon de Javier in the SCA, and I have no request from the board or policy interpretations. I have a little list of commendations that you'll see on the slides later. And then for the general status report, the archive is doing great, both digitally and physically. We're working on building a simple scanning platform that'll let us digitize more materials, which we hope to make some of those available to our members as part of a members benefit. So you'll go online to the SCA website and be able to look at some of the older historical documents out there. We also are continuing to answer research queries. And I've been very grateful to all of the Kingdom chroniclers for giving me lists of the different newsletters that they published both currently and in the past so that we can create a better index there as well. Just beyond that, I just wanted to talk a little bit about our connection with JSTOR. So speaking with JSTOR over the past half a year, we now have a benefit for members of the SCA, one of these corporate partnerships. And pretty soon you'll be able to, as an SCA member, get 25% off of your membership on their JPass program. That's a monthly subscription or a year-long subscription that gives you access to all of their archive, lets you print off or download about 120 articles in a year. And so it should give you lots of research. And so 25% of that off of that saves you about $50 a year if you sign up for that. And they were very generous in sharing that with us as the SCA as a way that we can improve our research and do cool things that way. So I just wanted to let people know. Other than that, I will be traveling to the American Alliance of Museums Conference in Baltimore, Maryland in May, where I hope to ask more archival questions about fast ways to archive our little publishable books. And then publishable summary, all is well in the archive. We continue to support researchers who are working, and once again, we're working on creating an index of all published group newsletters and titles by kingdom. So thank you so much. That's all that I've got.
Thank you very much, sir. By consensus and without objection, your report is gratefully accepted. This would bring us to item 6D, the report of the Society Treasurer, who I do not believe is present.
Yes, I am.
Oh, my apologies. I thought you were at a conference today. Excuse me.
No. Conference, you know, I don't do conferences the day before the end of the filing tax season, if I can avoid it.
Fair point.
Anyway, this is the report of the Treasurer for the Society for Creative Anachronism for the meeting of April 14th. I'm so glad tomorrow is the 15th. I requested board actions. I do have some budget changes that I have requested that the board address, which I believe will be addressed in the executive session. I don't anticipate those changes changing the bottom line on the budget at all, because we're really just shifting money from one account to another, though. Policy interpretations or changes, I have none. New policies, none. Commendations, I would like to commend the following Kingdom Exchequers for sending in their 2023 consolidated reports on time. To Katerina Dmitrieva of Glenavon. She got her report in first in mid-February, no less. Lady Fjorleaf Elnrada, also known as Deborah de Treville in Atlantia. Baroness Elaine Gwenhillian de Belem, or Jan Drake of the Kingdom of the Middle. Asa Gildsdaughter, Angie Gilmore of the Kingdom of Northshield, and His Lordship Edric Capillarius of the Kingdom of Outlands. Just as an update to that, I have received a couple of other Kingdom reports since my report was published, but I am still missing some. General status report. An updated report for the investment account is included with this report. This includes not only our overall investment picture, but a breakdown of the holdings. Overall, things are fairly stable at the moment since we got a big revenue boost in February because many members renewed before the cost went up. I'm not sure how long that revenue will last, though. We did have to withdraw money from the account in January to pay the bills. Louise and I are talking about moving some money back to the investment account because we have far more in the checking account right now than we actually need. The investment account itself is currently worth approximately $720,000. And the balance sheet is around 912,000. The vast majority of that is the investment account or our inventory. Due to delays in completing the audit of the books, the tax returns and audit also got delayed. This resulted in higher than normal expenses in January for those items, resulting in a loss for that month of around $57,000. February made up for it with all of that renewal activity, resulting in net income of close to $130,000, and we're hoping that will carry us through most of the year. I'm not real confident it will, however. Particularly since Louise mentioned we have more events coming on, which just tells me that they're going to raise our insurance rates again. That being said, I still need to post the 2282 tax returns to the website. Due to my own tax work, I haven't been able to get the necessary redactions done. I actually did complete those yesterday, by the way. And I will get them tomorrow to get them posted. I also need to post various other financial documents like the 2023 actual versus budget and the 2024 proposed budget. The 2023 year-end reports are starting to come in from the kingdoms, and I'm hoping to start working on the consolidated after April 15th. But there are a couple of kingdoms that are needing some assistance on getting into balance. Bonnie and I have been working with them on that. I have actually started inputting things into the overall spreadsheet during the planning meeting yesterday. Publishable summary. The announcement of the increase in membership dues resulted in a large influx of renewals for February. I have reminded the kingdoms that the NMR increase goes into effect April 1st, and that the groups are expected to pay the $10 fee even if they accidentally only collect $5. The kingdom consolidated reports are starting to come in, and I'm hoping we'll get everything squared away so the audit can begin no later than July and not September like it did last year. Travel, none this quarter, at least not for official business. I do still plan to go to the main office to go over the QuickBooks accounts with Natalia and Louise and clean up the accounts we no longer use or haven't used in some time, and just to go over the bookkeeping and accounting procedures. Both feel this is long overdue. However, due to my regular job and my tax practice, I'm planning possibly to do this in May. I have not yet discussed with Louise what dates she's available or really when I can get away from work myself. So that is the end of my official budget. As I mentioned, the balance sheet and the investment numbers are already there. Budget versus actual. Our year-to-date total is a positive amount of $73,000, approximately where we had budgeted a $36,000 loss. So we're about 300% over budget, which is good for now. We'll see if it lasts through the rest of the year. And that concludes my report.
Excellent. Thank you, Carolyn. I believe I would be correct in characterizing our current budgetary surplus as a byproduct of the increase to the membership fees, and that's likely to be temporary.
I think a lot of people were trying to beat the clock and renewed before they needed to in February. And so therefore we took in a huge amount of membership dues, far more than we were expecting. And yes, I don't expect that to continue.
Understood. Thank you. By consensus and without objection, your report is accepted, and thank you very much. Carolyn, for clarification, did you also cover the investment account summary?
Yeah, I mentioned that the investment account currently has about a value of around $721,000 as of the end of March.
That being the case, then I think that brings us to item 6D4. the report of the Society Exchequer.
Yes, and Bonnie can't be here with us as far as I'm aware. She is autocrating Glen Aubyn's Crown Tournament this weekend. So I have her report to read for you.
Please continue.
Unto the esteemed directors of society, I send greetings. Here is my report to the board regarding the NMR report from my office for all 4 quarters, which includes data for all events for the last 3 years. General status report. We've reached 100% reporting for the years 2020, 21, 22, and 23 for the NMR. All Canadian events have been converted to US dollars at the time of money submission. All reportable Drachenwald events are being held in exempt areas. There is a great deal of detail in her report on the breakdown of that. I don't really think I need to go over that in detail here. Her publishable summary. Actually, this is James's report, not Bonnie's report. Hold on one second. Yeah, hold on 1 second. Let me find Bonnie's report.
Well, in lieu of that, and since we can take items out of order, please continue with the report for the NMR deputy, and we'll go backwards for hers.
Yeah, the NMR report is, let me get back to it. I have like 18 windows open here. The total NMR 2020 events final totals were $28,000 with 100% of the known events reported. All events reported for the second, third, and fourth quarter of 2020 and first quarter and some second quarter events of 2021 were virtual, so no NMR was received. 2021 events final totals were 24,506% of the known events reported. 2022 events final totals were $102,000 with 100% of the 841 of the known events reported. And for 2023, the January to December totals were $137,645 with 100% of the 975 events reported. So that is submitted by James Baker, also known in society as His Lordship Giacomo Falcone. Let me see if I can find Bonnie's report.
While you're doing so, by consensus and without objection, the report of the NMR deputy is accepted.
I know she sent it to me. You know, I don't know that she sent me her report and only sent me James's report. Well, hold on 1 second. Maybe this is it. Yeah, I've got it. Hold on. Here we go. Unto the esteemed directors of society, greetings. This report contains activity from the first quarter of 2024. Requested board actions, none. Policy interpretations, none. New policies, none. Commendations, many thanks to Sean Cornelius. Sean designed the new report that allowed attendees to electronically sign waivers and check in Gulf Wars. Many thanks to the entire gate staff and Exchequer office. These wonderful volunteers were getting attendees headed into Gulf Wars in under a minute. Thanks to Lisa Stevenson that stepped up as Glen Aubyn's Exchequer on short notice and has hit the road running. Many thanks to the local and Kingdom Exchequers that attended classes and the Exchequer meet and greet at Gulf Wars. I was able to meet for the first time in person Angie from North Shield, John from Ansteora, and Rick from Kaid. Variances granted, none. General status report. The Exchequer open office hours have been well attended by Kingdoms and group Exchequers. We will pick these sessions up again on April 17th. Several kingdoms have already submitted their consolidated reports. Great job. Scores worked very well to register for Gulf Wars. Outlands are approved for scores and are now using it for event registrations. We will continue to expand scores usage. And for those of you who don't know, scores is the online payment system that replaced the old SCAR system that we used under the new membership database. Note, we have been using PayPal for 10 years. We started in April 2014. Since then, we've expanded use to include heraldry and donations. Publishable summary: the kingdoms, wars, and groups all need to remain vigilant with income and spending. Keep expenses within budgets when possible. Please remember we need to publish kingdom and group budgets annually. Finances should be transparent. There will be open office hours the second Wednesday of the month at Kingdom and local exchequers and seneschals are welcome to attend. Bonnie is hosting those Zoom meetings, by the way. And please remember to use the new NMR form as of January 1st, 2024. She has no travel planned. And that concludes the Society Exchequers report.
Excellent. Thank you, Carolyn. By consensus and without objection, that report is gratefully accepted. That would bring us to item 6E, the report of the Society Herald. Uni?
Thank you. First, requested board actions. There are 3 of these. I believe we are expected to go through them one at a time.
Correct.
So first, this January it turned out that the different kingdoms had different understanding of how large batches of heraldic submissions they could send at one go. We discussed this at the Submission Heralds meeting at the virtual symposium at the end of the month. And based on this, I settled the limit to a maximum of 50 items per kingdom per month. And to make sure this information won't get lost again, I would like to add it to the administrative handbook.
Okay. Director Painter?
Yes, I move that we approve the amendment of the administrative handbook for the heralds to limit the number of submissions to 50 per month. As requested.
Motion by Director Boehner and a second by Director Shepherd. Is there discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Thank you. Those opposed? And without abstention, that motion carries.
Thank you. Second, we have already had for a little while a registration category of ancient arms for branches that change their arms, but don't want the old arms to get completely released or forgotten. In a recent case, one branch wanted to do a similar thing with their old name, and but both I and the College of Arms consider this reasonable. So we are proposing adding a category of ancient branch name. At the same time, I would clarify that since the ancient branch name and arms are really an alternative to releasing the old items, they cannot be brought back to use as the active branch name or branch arms. So this is mainly to make it possible to keep track of this history and not forget it.
Okay. Director Boehner?
Yes, I move that we instruct the Herald to update the administrative handbook to allow branches to retain their old names as ancient branch names as presented.
Motion for Director Boehner, a second from Director O'Shea. Is there discussion on this motion? Uni, if I may clarify,
yes,
is the stated intent that once the arms or name for a group becomes ancient in this manner, that it may never be resurrected in any fashion?
Yes.
In other words, they can't release it to maybe subsequently used.
They can be released, but they cannot be brought back to use.
Okay, and the practical effect of that would, if they're released, is that they still can't be used by anyone. Yes?
If they are released, they can be registered by someone else at a later stage, except that there are some board decisions in force that cover the names and arms of defunct branches.
Okay. As a last question, in the case where a group has ancient arms and or heraldry, and there is someone is seeking permission to conflict, would this cause any problems for the group to be able to respond to that, either in the affirmative or the negative?
Yes, the group may give permission to conflict.
Okay.
But these ancient names cannot be used to form, let's say, by names for individual people in the same manner as the currently used branch names. So in that sense, they have already been lost.
Understood, and thank you. That concludes my questions. Are there any other questions or comments on this motion?
Mr. Chair, we do have a question that's relevant to this in the questions pane. Would it be all right to address that at this point or at a later time?
Director Bainter?
I think that will be answered in the next action that is being requested of us.
Got it. Thank you.
There is a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any further discussion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Opposed? And without abstention, that motion carries as well.
Thank you. And then we get to the third one. We have a long-standing policy that the name and arms of a defunct branch cannot be reused. But there are two new developments that lead me to ask you to update the decision made at the September 1983 board meeting. First, since we now have the new categories of ancient branch name and ancient arms, it would seem consistent to allow the parent kingdom of a defunct branch to transfer the name and arms to a new branch setting up at the same geographic location as ancient, but not the currently used name and arms. So and this has been asked recently, and so it would give the new branch the decision over whether to remember the old identity of the SCA presence in that location. Second, a couple of kingdoms have hamlets as a kind of a semi-official branch type, and there have been some cases already when an established branch has been downgraded to hamlet, and the way this is done is that the branch is formally dissolved. However, since the identity of the group stays the same, I would like to amend the administrative handbook to state clearly that these cases are considered changes in branch status instead. with regard to heraldic registrations. So the hamlet can continue with the same name instead of having to pick a new one.
There's Director Bainter.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we direct the Herald to amend the policy from 1983 to allow society branches. Sorry. Let me back up and try that again. Mr. Chairman, I move that we direct the Society Herald to amend the policy from 1983 to clarify that hamlets are treated as other branches at this time, and to allow kingdoms to transfer defunct branch names to the same physical location and use as an ancient branch name and ancient arms as presented.
Motion from Director Bainter. Is there a second? Second from Director Capps. For discussion on the motion? John?
So is this a change to language or a prior established policy? Is this a heraldic change?
As I understand it, John, this is an expansion of the language to cover some things that were not part of the original policy, considering that we have recently added the designation for a hamlet and also for ancient arms and names.
So it is that language is being approved. There's no plan
Correct.
to do that. We have the language. Thank you. Thank you, Winnie.
Further discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Opposed? And without abstention, that motion carries.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I did not catch the
Okay.
second on that.
Director Capps.
Thank you.
So thank you. Moving forward to policy interpretations, there are a few of these as well. First of all, there are 7 updates to the standards for evaluation of names and armory. I think it's enough that they are listed in my written report. So in short summary, number 1 is a direct result of the broadening of the scope of the society to be less Eurocentric. Number 3 is a minor point missed when our old practice of allowing English translations of certain name elements was broadened to cover the local languages of non-English speaking society members. Numbers 2 and 4 through 7 are cases where our understanding of period practice has increased and we need to change our rules to match. And second, there are 2 changes to the glossary of terms. The first one is again updating our rules to better match our understanding of period practice. The second is a case of keeping track of our blazon conventions as they evolve.
I believe I'm correct in saying that the Senate of these policy interpretations, yes. I'm correct in saying these would have to be approved by motion by the board.
They do, and we've typically done the Senate as one motion and the glossary of terms and others as second motions.
I believe that is also correct.
Okay, let me try this. I move that we accept the policy interpretation for the updates of Senate as presented by Royal Sovereign of Arms.
Motion by Director Bainter and a second by Director Camps. Is there discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Opposed? And without abstention, that motion carries.
Then we get to commendations.
One more.
Oh, yeah.
Director Bainter.
I move that we accept the changes of the glossary terms as presented by Laurel Sovereign of Arms.
Motion by Director Bainter, second by Director Shepherd. Is there a discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Opposed? And with no abstention, that motion carries.
So sorry, it's about 1:45 for me. I'm not quite at my sharpest anymore. Anyway, going to commendations. This was my first quarter of office. So the main thing I would like to say is that I couldn't have done this without the help of the core Laurel staff. So Elisabetta and Jago, the Pelican and Wreath Sovereigns of Arms have been excellent in doing their work. Emma, my immediate predecessor, stepped down to the position of post-meeting clerk, which is the office of herding the sovereigns to make sure we publish the decisions in a timely manner. Reis Abtuder, who performed that office during Emma's term, retired to just managing the College of Arms web presence. And Jean-Marie Lacroix, who keeps track of the rules changes, has been doing an excellent job, as you have seen, and is otherwise also finding time to help with occasional emergencies. I would also commend Tanchos Istvan, who manages our online system for commentary and response. We have had a couple of incidents recently where Istvan was quick enough to fix the incidents before they had a chance to become actual problems. And finally, the West Kingdom recently had an unscheduled change of principal herald, and I'm thankful to Asa Boyne, who was able to offer her experience and expertise to minimize the disruption of this event. As a general status report, the Office of Pelican Sovereign of Arms, who makes the decisions on name submissions, is due to change later this year. The call for applicants was published a couple of days ago, and I hope to be able to announce Elisabetta's successor at the Known World Heralds and Scribal Symposium at the end of June. And ask for a warrant at the July board meeting, so that there will be a couple of months time for the incoming and outgoing Pelican to collaborate to ease the office transfer. And that, I believe, is what I had to say today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. By consensus and without objection, the report of the Society Herald is gratefully accepted. This brings us to item 6F, the report of the Society Marshal.
Hello. Got to me already. Yay. So I'm trying to keep it light this quarter. I only have 2 actions for the board. Last meeting, we passed the new fencing rules, which included reduced armor, but also excluded flexi daggers. So I have a couple variances to allow a couple kingdoms that still had a couple pockets of those areas, a little extra time for them to make the change before completely phasing them out. So the first action requested is a 4-month variance for the East Kingdom.
Director Shepherd.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the variance granted by the Society Earl Marshal for a variance for the East Kingdom for the use of flexi daggers.
Motion by Director Shepherd, second by Director Capps. Is there a discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Opposed? Director Fisher, I'm sorry, I wasn't able to record your in favor. Thank you. And there being no abstentions, that motion carries.
Thank you. The second action is a 4-month variance for Aethelmark for flexi daggers. So same reasons.
Director Shepherd.
Mr. Chairman, second verse, same as the first. I move that we.
I am not shocked.
I move that we approve the variance granted by the Society Earl Marshal for the Kingdom of Aethelmark for the use of flexi daggers.
Motion by Director Shepherd, second by Director O'Shea. Is there a discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Opposed? And without abstention, that motion carries.
Thank you very much. I have no new policy interpretations or policies this quarter. We are busy implementing all the ones that we did for the last couple meetings. I know the commendation scroll is broken right now and that'll be up later, but just a quick thank you to all the marshals, the Kingdom marshals, deputies, generals, and along with the support of the crowns, who really helped make Gulf Wars happen this year. And a special thanks to John on his way out the door for all his guidance and knowledge and insights. It is rare that I meet someone who loves process as much as me, but I think I have met a true master. So those commendations will be posted up later because there are many who make this happen. Just some highlights. So we've had a few office changes. We have a new deputy for missile combat, Dame Diala, under Thrown Weapons. We also have new Kingdom marshals stepping up in Antir and Aethelmark. Overall, I'm pleased to announce that it looks like marshal activities have really been on the rise and reflect levels close to pre-COVID participation. So while the numbers may not match exactly, I think part of that was just cleaning out of the databases as people fell out over the years. But most of the kingdoms are reporting levels, they're seeing levels close to pre-COVID. So that is an excellent thing to hear. Another great highlight, Target Siege draft rules have been reviewed and the final version is expected shortly. This is a very exciting new activity that will enable live siege ammo to be used on target archery ranges. So we get to go blow things up. This will be fun to watch. A shout out to Meridies Equestrian. They're having a very incredible resurgence right now. with many multiple new practices, returning marshals, and many new participants. Atlantia is reporting they're seeing less armor issues on the field, so going to help them spread some best practices. Antier has seen a significant increase in cut and thrust, with over 100 combatants and 66 marshals. And Gulf Wars debuted a new helm inspection stickers. These are water resistance, long lasting, you can write on them, and they peel off with no residue on your helmet. So hoping to spread those to other wars. And then I am working with the Society Equestrian Officer to look for new sources and new approaches for equestrian insurance to help mitigate costs going in the future. Let's see. Quick update on the projects. We have 2 major projects underway. The rules modernization. So the changes to the governing documents, rules of the list in Corpora were approved last meeting, and those have gone out for comment. The draft handbook templates are about 80% complete. We've added entries for concussion awareness, heat index, air quality for review, and also an area on accessibility. We should have a pilot ready to roll out to the Kingdom Marshals for review in the next month or 2, because we're putting these on a wiki. A draft chain of command update was distributed and piloted at Gulf Wars, and we got some good feedback from that use and also from the Kingdom Marshals. And our experimental programs are doing well. Again, the status for each experimental program is available on the SCA.org website under the Marshallet section. So if people are interested in current status, points of contacts, how to sign up, and links, those are all available now online. One update on that is, since we approved the reduced armor for Rapier last quarter, we split out a separate experimental program for cut and thrust. We didn't have enough geographical data to make a final decision on that. So we moved ahead with the Rapier because we did for that. But for cut and thrust, we're going to run that experiment for an additional 5-6 months to gather enough data to make sure geographically across the SCA, we also don't see any issues. And with that, I think I will, in the interest of time, close my report.
Thank you very much. By consensus and without objection, your report is gratefully accepted. And that would bring us to item 6, pardon me, Director Fisher.
I'm not, Leslie's computer just went out. So for a minute, she's rebooting.
We will pause. Director Shepherd.
And we go for a quick bio while she does that.
Would 5 minutes be sufficient, or do we need more?
5 is good.
By consensus and without objection, we will take a short 5-minute recess for whatever activities may be needed. I believe we have the directors back. I know Leslie is back. John, Liz, are you guys present?
I am.
Excellent.
Yep.
In that case, I believe we can continue the meeting. We have one more report on the agenda. That would be item 6G, the report of the Society Minister of Arts and Sciences.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Sarah Noble McGee, your Society Minister of Arts and Sciences, and this is my first quarter 2024 report. Requested board actions, policy interpretations, and new policy, currently none on all of those. As usual, many commendations. Thank you to Bridget for assuring us that those will go out as an announcement later today. One I would like to read, though, is a commendation to all Kingdom and local arts and sciences officers for their good work in the arts and sciences. I'm proud of all of you who facilitate, plan, and participate in arts and sciences activities. General status report. During the first quarter, Kingdoms enjoyed well-attended universities, arts and sciences, fairs and competitions, collegia, and several smaller local events, including a couple of new arts and sciences themed events. Kingdoms are looking ahead and preparing for both regional and Kingdom Arts and Sciences fairs, and already planning for Penzic and other summer events, looking ahead to fall and winter. The health of the arts and sciences community continues to improve overall. And a new development within the arts and sciences community is very positive. The increase in non-judged interactive display with discussion and documentation opportunities. These are providing a much more positive and happy and inclusive experience for the many active artisans who are hesitant to enter judged competitions. My publishable summary. The Society for Creative Anachronisms continues to fulfill its mission to research and recreate the arts and sciences and skills of the pre-17th century world. The first quarter has seen well-attended in-person activities, including arts and sciences classes, workshops, several local and Kingdom champion competitions. Successful online and hybrid arts and sciences activities, including universities and classes, have continued. Kingdom and local officers successfully continue to update the ways in which we do arts and sciences activities, including non-judged displays, interactive display opportunities, and working toward refreshing traditional arts and sciences competitions and activities. The arts and sciences populace in general seems to be enjoying and benefiting from increased opportunities for display and discussion. Recently, the populace were invited to focus on arts and sciences plans and goals for 2024. Next, we will be focusing on special arts and sciences gifts made for or given by others. As the society officer, I continue regular outreach through Kingdom officers to help encourage and support officers from Kingdom level all the way through to the branch officers. I strive to maintain an email response time to warranted officers of no more than 48 hours. Except for when I'm away at in-person activities or during holidays, when response time may be longer. Travel, there were no travel expenses reported. I did travel to Gulf Wars in March in the Kingdom of Glen Aubin. While there, I enjoyed holding a Kingdom Ministers of Arts and Sciences meet and greet, and I appreciate all of those who came for discussion and feedback. 2024 travel continues to be in planning stages. I don't currently have travel planned over the summer, but we'll be traveling again in the fall. This concludes my first quarter 2024 report.
Excellent. Thank you very much. By consensus and without objection, your report is gratefully accepted. That would bring us to item 7 on the agenda. That would be the report of executive session.
Mr. Chairman, executive session was opened on Saturday, April 23rd, 2024 at 3:04 p.m. Central Time and adjourned at 6:18 p.m. Central Time. James Acton, motion by Jennifer Krochmal to uphold the temporary removal from participation in the Society of James Acton as issued by Trigger and Mercedes, Crown of the Kingdom of Qaida and their Kingdom Seneschal on February 24th, 2024, to extend the temporary removal from participation and to further direct the Society Seneschal to begin an investigation into possible sanctions up to and including revocation of membership and denial of participation, effective immediately. Second by Megan O'Shea. Opposed, none. Absent, Katie Shepherd. Motion carried. Scott Stewart, motion by Gabrielle Fisher to uphold the temporary removal from participation in the Society of Scott Stewart as issued by Christoph and Brennan, Crown of the Kingdom of Glen Aubin, and their kingdom seneschal on February 24th, 2024, to extend the temporary removal from participation and to further direct the Society Seneschal to begin an investigation into possible sanctions up to and including revocation of membership and denial of participation effective immediately. Second by Krista Capps, opposed none, absent KT Shepherd, motion carried. Ralph Layton, motion by Krista Capps to uphold the temporary removal from participation in the Society of Ralph Layton as issued by the Loverk and Melissa, Crown of the Kingdom of the Outlands and their kingdom seneschal on February 11th, 2024, to extend the temporary removal from participation and to further direct the Society Seneschal to begin an investigation into possible sanctions up to and including revocation of membership and denial of participation effective immediately. Second by Jennifer Krochmal, opposed none, absent KT Shepherd. Chairman Mark Falcon exercised his option to vote and did so in favor of the motion. Motion carried. Ryan Hallgrimson, motion by Jennifer Krochmal to uphold the temporary removal from participation in the Society of Ryan Hallgrimson as it issued by Sigfrith and Sophia, Crown of the Kingdom of the West and their kingdom seneschal on March 23rd, 2024, to extend the temporary removal from participation and to further direct the Society Seneschal to begin an investigation into possible sanctions up to and including revocation of membership and denial of participation effective immediately. Second by Megan O'Shea, opposed none, absent KT Shepherd. Chairman Mark Falcon exercised his option to vote and did so in favor of the motion. Motion carried. Nicholas Ferguson, motion by Gabrielle Fisher to revoke the membership of and deny participation to Nicholas Ferguson, effective immediately. Second by Jennifer Krochmal, opposed none, absent KT Shepherd, motion carried. Michael Busa, motion by Krista Capps to revoke the membership of and deny participation to Michael Busa, effective immediately. Second by Pug Bainter, opposed none, absent KT Shepherd, motion carried. Michael Giesendorf, Director, Pug Bainter recused himself from discussion of or voting on this issue. Motion by Gabrielle Fisher to prohibit Michael Giesendorf from participation in Crown lists for a period of 2 years, effective immediately and concluding on April 13th, 2026. Second by Krista Capps. In favor, Krista Capps, Gabrielle Fisher, Jennifer Krochmal, Megan O'Shea. Opposed, Chairman Mark Falcon exercised his option to vote and did so in opposition to the motion. Absent KT Shepherd, recused Pug Bainter, motion carried. Morgan Wolf, motion by Krista Capps to uphold the exile from the realm issued to Morgan Wolf by Gabrielle and Sarah of the Kingdom of Aidenveld on March 16th, 2024. Second by Jennifer Krochmal, opposed none, absent KT Shepherd, motion carried. Dave Columbus, resignation from the Order of the Laurel. By consensus, Chairman Mark Falcon took note of Mr. Columbus's resignation from the Order of the Laurel. Michael Bolt. Director Jennifer Krochmal recused herself from discussion of or voting on this matter. Chairman Mark Falcon also recused himself from discussion of and voting on this matter. The gavel was passed to Vice Chairman Gabrielle Fisher and returned to Chairman Mark Falcon at the close of the discussion. Motion by Krista Capps to decline to hear the appeal of Michael Bolt. Second by Megan O'Shea. In favor, Pug Bainter, Krista Capps, Gabrielle Fisher, Megan O'Shea. Opposed, none. Absent, Katie Shepard. Recused, Mark Falcon, Jennifer Krochmal. Motion carried. Motion by Gabrielle Fisher to direct the Society Seneschal to communicate with the Society Marshal to review all baited steel and related marshalate education and to report to the board any concerns and/or recommendations. Second by Krista Capps. In favor, Pug Bainter, Krista Capps, Gabrielle Fisher, Megan O'Shea. Opposed, none. Absent, KT Shepard. Recused, Jennifer Krochmal. Motion carried.
I have a quick question about that, please.
Yes, please.
Could you read that motion again, or the direction? The board directed my office to get
Communicate with the Society Marshal.
Right, the president's office. I'm sorry, I may have missed that. I thought you said Society Seneschal. My bad.
If I did, it was an error. I do have Society President here. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, thank you so much.
Thank you. Society Seneschal confidential updates. The report of the Society Seneschal was accepted as presented. Legal updates. The report of in-house counsel was accepted as presented. 2024 budget amendments. By consensus, the 2020 budget amendments as presented by the corporate treasurer were accepted as presented. East Kingdom Crown experiment. By consensus, no action was taken at this time. This matter was remanded to the May 2024 conference call for further review. Society Seneschal position discussion. By consensus, this matter was remanded to the May 2024 conference call. Investigations deputy position discussion. By consensus, this matter was remanded to the May 2024 conference call. April 14th, 2024, subsidiaries action by verbal consent. All actions for the subsidiaries of the Society for Creative Anachronism Incorporated are accepted by consensus. Director resignations. By consensus, no action was taken. Director appointment seat D. By consensus, no action was taken. Chair assignment. By consensus, no action was taken. By chair assignment, by consensus, no action was taken. Ombudsman assignments. There were no changes to the ombudsman assignments this quarter. Warrant expirations. It is noted that the following upcoming warrant expirations are expected. Webminister, July 31st, 2024. Society Seneschal, ER Deputy, August 31st, 2024. Exchequer, October 31st, 2024. Chronicler, December 31st, 2024. Minister of Arts and Sciences, December 31st, 2024. That concludes the minutes for your executive session.
Thank you very much, Leslie. We have reached the end of the agenda, but before we continue, we'll exercise a certain amount of prerogative. Earlier in the meeting, John, I believe you made reference to some future statements that you will make on your opining on your history with the board. It will be weepy and et cetera. I can't speak for the other board members, but I certainly will be reserving the right to do so myself at that future board meeting, because that is certainly worthy of note. However, I have been thinking about it for some time, and I do want to point out to you personally, at least, that 23 years ago, as a first-time crown, John, you helped me get through a difficult situation in my own kingdom when you were chairman of the board. In 2011, I had occasion to work with you again under the most trying and difficult circumstances the SCA has ever experienced. And yet again, in 2023, I found myself working with you under yet more threatening and trying circumstances, the most threatening, I would say, in modern memory. I'm seeing a common thread here, John. I mean, perhaps we should start calling you John Stormcrow instead of John the Bear Killer.
Yeah, it's always a big question of whether or not I bring crap with me or I just get thrown in with crap. But that's thank you, Mark, very much.
Regardless, I will say that you know, in trying times and times of adversity for the organization, you have consistently delivered and come through in ways that would be noteworthy if they'd happened once. And yet you have done so over decades for our organization. And that is after having cemented your legacy within the organization through a number of Crown Tourney victories, through your legacy of squires, grand squires, great grand squires, proteges, grand proteges, great grand proteges, and so on. If there is such a thing as a living legend in the SCA, well, in fairness, there's probably a couple of guys in front of you, but not many. And like I said, there'll be more weepy stuff later, but as this is your ostensibly your last public meeting as president of the society, I felt that that was not an occasion to be let go without being remarked upon, and to extend the gratitude not only of a grateful board, but I dare say of a grateful society. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate your words.
Don't thank me yet. There's still the sappy stuff coming next time.
That's true. But thanks. Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Thank you, John. Unless I miss my guess, and it's possible it's really late where I'm at. I believe we've reached the end of our meeting, and we have but adjournment to go. If a director is so minded to move that we do so. Director Fisher.
Shocking, I know. Mr. Chairman, I move that we close the April 14th, 2024 Board of Directors meeting for the Society for Creative Anachronism.
Motion by Director Fisher and a second by Director Capps. Is there a discussion of this motion? There being none, we'll move to the voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. All those opposed? And thus this meeting is adjourned.